What is up, RotoGrinders? Welcome back to the show. Grinders Live is a start of 2+ hours of Mlb Dfs content, 7-game DFS slate. Myself and Chief Justice and Stevie, we're going to talk about it the first hour and a half. We're going to hand it off to the Crunch Time crew. You got Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth. I believe it is Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood, and Derek Carty coming up for Crunch Time in about an hour and a half or so. Hey, man, I didn't mention this pre-show, Will, but hey, if you have anything to sidetrack the show, I'm all for sidetracking the show. Going to talk baseball and all that, but man, an hour and a half for this slate, woof. We could theoretically, if you really wanted to, fly through this thing like in 20 minutes. But first of all, Will, Chief Justice, how are things in your world? Everything all right? Everything good?
Yeah, man, going well. Prop Shop's been crushing it here recently, I must say. Man, it's been really good in that place. And I'm trying to take down a GPP tonight, Dean, of all things. I need to get myself back in GPP mode because the NFL is coming, and I need my brain to be working on both sides. So that's why you'll see me in the GPP streets here a lot more frequently, at least leading up to NFL and throughout, because the mental side of this business is everything. And so I want to be mentally ready when week one comes rolling in.
Hey, man, I mean, that's like you're trying to win a GPP tonight. That's, picking the brain. Well, what's the plan? It's the same thing we do every single night. We're trying to win a GPP. Doesn't always work out that way, unfortunately. But, hey, you know what, Stevie, from such things as the morning ride and NASCAR. Stevie, I didn't win a GPP with NASCAR, but I did peek your scores and odd write up this weekend. And nice call on Bubba Wallace taking down, I don't know, he went heads up against somebody else. I was getting some positive juice. You wrote a nice little bit about it. I'm like, I'm sold. And I think he actually finished second. You know better than me. But I tailed you, so thank you.
Yeah, he finished second. I had him at 14 and 10-1 to win the race too. So it would have been awesome for him to get a late race caution. But yeah, Wallace had a ton of speed. That line we talked about in the morning grind because Keith tailed it as well. That line should have been the opposite way. Like Bubba should have been a 125 favorite and he was a 125 dog in that one. So, I mean, it worked out for that bet. It could have been a lot better on the betting side. Had some stuff not happen early in the race, but I mean, positive is positive, I guess.
Yeah, or I picked the right one, I suppose.
You picked the right one, Dean.
Is that what happened?
Well, I mean, scores and odds yesterday, I went 3-3. So okay. Yeah, you picked the right one.
Oh, I think I also bet like a Ford wins or a Toyota wins or something like that.
Toyota win, yeah. See, you needed a late race caution.
Yeah, we got to call a guy. Whose call is that? Who makes sure who put the thumb down or the thumb up? I was told that NASCAR is rigged. There's some people that believe that NASCAR is rigged, which seems really tricky to do when controlling all these vehicles in the 190 miles, whatever fast they go. But yeah, Steve, you got to put a call on next time and make sure we get the caution, which I assume would have helped our cause.
Yeah, I mean, if it was rigged, I feel like we'd get a better trend and we make money off of it a lot more than we do. So I don't think it's rigged, but someone in the chat's asking if I think Kyle Busch is going back to Joe Gibbs Racing. My initial answer is yes. I think he's going to take less money and be in the 18 next year. But if he doesn't, I think he's in the 41 Stewart Haas car next year.
Oh, you know what, Stevie? The other one I tell was you wrote up some guy that is going to finish in the top 10, and he finished 10th. Perfect.
Yeah, Ty Gibbs. Rookie.
Okay, that's who it was. Okay,
that's Joe Gibbs' grandson.
Oh, okay. I didn't put that together.
Yep. So.
But that makes sense because like NASCAR, they seem to there's a lot of it's just like handed down. There's a lot of families.
He's talented, man. So Joe Gibbs has 2 sons, I think, if I remember correctly. And this is Coy's son, so it's Joe Gibbs's grandson. But I mean, this dude, he is a wheelman. He is the future star of the NASCAR Cup Series.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
He's going to be a big name going forward.
Yeah, big name. So he's running the Xfinity Series, which is the step below the Cup Series this year. And man, I think he has 5 wins already this year in the Xfinity Series. He won some races last year. he's filling in for Kurt Busch, who has a concussion right now in the Cup side. So there you go.
What's up, chat? Kindly hit that like button. Do you subscribe to? Turn on those notifications. Let's try to be as interactive as possible in the chat today. Whatever you guys, whatever's in your mind, feel free to throw it out there. Assuming it's relative to the conversation, we'll do our best to entertain it. Not real. Well, it's kind of sort of relative to the conversation. Eric wants to play me head-to-head in NASCAR. I don't want to play head-to-head NASCAR.
I like your chances.
I don't know if I have access to your package, your NASCAR package. But you're saying no matter what, either way, just the limited information I have that you've heard so far, you still like my chances versus Eric?
I like your chances.
Okay. I don't know what I'm doing. Just pick the guys that are like further back. I think that's kind of one of the cheat codes. Is that kind of sort of
there
true?
You go.
Yeah, that's all I got. And the guys that go fast, the ones that go fast, I think helps.
Ricky Bobby.
There you go, Ricky Bobby. Ricky Bobby and God, why can't I think of his teammate? What's his teammate's name? Anybody? Jeez, I'm just drawing a blank. It's been a while since I've seen Talladega Nights. Shake and Bake, Ricky Bobby. We got John C. Riley. You got anything for me, Stevie? Will, have you seen this movie?
Tom Mountain Jr. I was waiting to see if you were going to get it or not.
Oh, I couldn't get there. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. My bad.
Oh, man.
Let's talk tonight's slate. It's 7-gamer. It's super straightforward. The Mets are they have a team total of up 6. They're facing a pitcher that probably shouldn't be in the majors. There's 3 starting pitchers that are probably in the same tier. I guess we'll have the conversation about it. You know, Blake Snell, we know how he can be kind of volatile, but he's too cheap on Fanduel. He's the cheapest one over there amongst the 3, and we'll kind of talk about it. We'll see if you guys agree as far as, you know, the tiers of pitchers, but I'll throw it to you, Will. Just give me the screenshot because it's you want to win a tournament tonight. How do you get you know, I mean, there are ways to get different, obviously, different without being too goofy, I suppose. But I think the chalk is going to be pretty well defined. I think the Mets going to be very popular. I think the pitching, it's not hard to get. So, you know, guys like Zach Gallen and Bassett and specifically Snell are not going to be difficult to roster either. So how are you seeing this slate? How do you be different?
Well, I mean, I think maybe you get different in a couple spots with the bats. I do think the pitching is the pitching. I think on FanDuel, I am going to use FanDuel as an example. I do think Blake Snell, the difference between Blake Snell and Zach Gallen today in terms of Blake Snell's strikeout ability is different. But gosh, man, Zach Gallen, I mean, he should be able to pick up 6 or 7 here. And if Zach Gallen is rolling, I think he's got the ability to go a lot deeper than Blake Snell because even though Blake Snell's facing the Giants, he should still essentially walk a few guys who are just going to run up his pitch count, and he'll do that on his own. So I do like Zach Gallen a bit at a slightly lower ownership point than Snell right now, but clearly Snell has more raw strikeout upside than Zach Gallen. That's on FanDuel. On DraftKings, and also on FanDuel, you've got Chris Bassett at 10-4, I think it is. But Bassett essentially should have a really nice night here. He could essentially go the distance, but I need him to get more strikeouts, and so I think he can do it. I think you take a shot with him. He's definitely going with the air quotes. He's definitely safe, if you will. But I do think I like Gallen against Pittsburgh the most. I've been targeting Pittsburgh all year, or most recently, and it's paid off mostly. So I'm in on some Zach Gallen tournaments for sure. On DK, Bassett at 9,300, no brainer. You've got Blake Snell at 8,800, no brainer. Zach Gallen at 7,900, no brainer. What are they doing? Like those would be the 3. I just mix and match those 3. All night long, and that's how I do it. And I'm saying that in all honesty. That's not an exaggeration. I would absolutely just take those 3 pitchers and run them in all lineups, some sort of a round robin, and mix and match those guys around all of my stacks, and I'll let the chips fall where they may at the end of the night.
Yeah, that's my basic approach as well too. But I think everybody else kind of sees the same thing. But just a heads up, I dropped the Ross weather in the chat if you guys are curious. Nothing too alarming, especially from a precipitation perspective, but in Chicago, we do have a really positive pitching. That's probably my best place to step down as far as the pitchers, as far as the cheapies. Keegan Thompson, and just he's cheap and he's in a good environment, good ballpark. He's facing a bad lineup. But Stevie, I mean, I'm sure you've kind of worked this out as well too, and the ownership is reflecting it. Pulling up the lineup HQ right now, trying to get a refresh and the most up-to-date ownership stuff. To me, I have the Bat X ownership stuff up right now, but not the RotoGrinders content. I'm sure it's super similar. We can check and kind of compare and contrast, but 44%, Stevie, 44% Blake Snell on DK. You got a roster 2, obviously. Zach Gallen, 35%, Bassett, 35%, and there's Thompson at 15%. Everything we just said, it's all kind of sort of straightforward. We want to pick on Oakland. We want to pick on the Angels. The pitchers aren't that great to throw at them, but we can throw them in the conversation with Suarez and Irvin. But yeah, Stevie, your take on this, and I know Dave Potts will be on later, and he wrote about this, and he wrote about it in the previous slate where Snell was very good, and he's waiting for that game where Snell is just going to implode, because Blake Snell as a chalky pitcher can be frightening, and he can get wild. This San Francisco lineup historically versus lefties, or this season versus lefties, actually strikes out a good bit, but they're not terrible. They're fine. But yeah, Snell is just an uncomfortable pitcher to be at 44%. Let's start there. Well, what are your thoughts there, Stevie, as far as Snell?
I have him ranked 3rd today.
Okay.
I mean, when you consider the matchup, the ownership, and he's Blake Snell, I have him ranked 3rd. I mean, getting a 50% owned pitcher is so scary. So for me, could Snell put up 30 here? Yeah, he could. Could he put up -10? Yeah, he could. Listen, San Diego's a really good team. Snell's going to have a lot of run, kind of producing behind him. Longoria is back in the lineup tonight. That's going to hurt Snell. Longoria is a very good contact hitter, especially against left-handed pitching. Slater, Flores, even Belt. These guys are patient. They walk. And in the trade process, they picked up JD Davis too. So another good right-handed hitter against left-handed pitching. He strikes out a lot, so it kind of helps Snell. I just think Snell, out of Bassett and Gallen, has the worst matchup of the 3. I mean, Snell probably has the highest ceiling of the 3 as well, for what it's worth, but I have Bassett as my number 1 guy tonight, and this Cincinnati lineup is just trash. They're really, really bad, and I mean, you look at the lineup that they rolled out here tonight, it's even worse. Aquino's in there, Pepper Sky.
Who's that now?
His name's like Pepper Sky or something like that. He's a young kid they just called up, but he has been striking out a huge clip in AAA and in the majors in his 50 at bats or whatever. So no walks, a lot of strikeouts. I mean, Bassett's a guy I think even you could take on his props tonight, because I think there's so many strikeouts in this lineup.
It's funny, Will, we were talking about that pre-show and you were asking about that, because he's not necessarily a guy. By the way, it's Papirski. I just hit the old Google on it. Michael Papirski.
There you go. I didn't hit the old Google. I just read it as Paper Sky. It's so much better that way. Mine's so much better, Dean.
I like Papirski. I think it sounds kind of cool, actually.
Paper Sky is better. He swings at paper in the sky. That's why he strikes out so much.
Papyrus.
Are you breaking the tie, Will?
Well, no, I'm just throwing in paper because papyrus is a type of paper from the Egyptian culture. I think I'm right on that. Papyrus.
That sounds vaguely familiar. Yeah, that sounds. I watched The Mummy recently. I feel like that might have came up.
You're so good at getting distracted.
So, yeah, this lineup for Cincinnati is rough. Aristides Aquino obviously in there, plenty of power, but also strikeout plenty as well too. There are some Ks there, and Will, we're kind of talking about the Bassett striking. K rate's not terrible. 24.3% is pretty fine. Of course, Snell is the biggest one in the slate by 5% and around 30%. Gallons is kind of low too. I mean, kind of look at it too. I figure they'd be a little bit higher, but and these numbers kind of skew a little bit. If you're looking at this year, I mean, Barrero, obviously small sample. He's striking out 2/3 of the time. That's 6 at bats. So I'm not going to freak out about that. But yeah, Papirski striking out a ton. India at 26%. The Moose, he's on the back 9. He's on hole 17 of his career at this point. Vado's still legit, but like he's striking out more these days, going for some power. This lineup is rough, man. What's the number on Bassett you're asking about? Was it 4.5 or 5.5? I can't remember. As far as his Ks.
Oh, he was at 5. I think. Well, on the books, I'm sure he's at 5.5. And let me check that to make sure.
He's at 6 on Prize Picks.
Yeah, which means he's probably 5.5 on the books. Which
he's
means
5.5, but minus 150 as far as juice on the over. So yeah, it's a big number.
Juice. I mean, if you're doing the Prize Picks thing, just take the over on. It's like 18.5 outs for Bassett. I mean, there's no reason that he shouldn't go 7 innings in this game. He's gone at least 6 innings in, I think, 8 straight games. So I like his chances to get that over 18.5 innings. Right.
So we're talking about 6 1/3, right? That's what we need.
Yeah, 6 1/3. I like the over on that on Prize Picks, but if you like laying down juice on bets, it's not my favorite thing. But I like the strikeout prop on Bassett at over 5.5. I think this lineup's it's bad.
It is pretty dreadful. I was just thinking, like, if the Mets are up 9-0 in the 7th, does he come out? I don't know.
I think it depends on his pitch count.
Yeah.
They don't want to have his outing shorted. They're not going to go out there and throw him 80 pitches just because they're leading a game. So if he's cruising here, this is a dude that consistently throws 95 plus pitches. So yeah, I think he threw 99 pitches against Atlanta when I think they were up 6-1 or something. So I could see him getting his pitches. I think it's all a pitch count thing, not a innings thing.
94, 103, 89, 90. Yeah, he's in the 90s or 100s. He's kind of a horse for sure. The K's, of course, are kind of volatile, right? 4 last time out, 2 before that. He had an outlier game against San Diego at 11, and the K's in the season is fine, 24%. We'll talk about Zach Gallen. Where do you have Gallen tonight?
Yeah, Gallen for me is it's like 1A, 1B. On DK, he's just too cheap. So that's the bottom line. He's too cheap. On FanDuel, where there's not as much of a price gap, I totally get, kind of deciding where you want to go. But on DK, he's facing Pittsburgh. This team they're striking out a ton as well. Not as high as Cincinnati in certain spots, like the bottom of that Cincinnati order just got so many guys. But there's tons of strikeouts here in this Pittsburgh lineup. Gallen's at home, so I really like the spot for him. I definitely think he's going to be able to limit the damage. Not a whole lot of high ISO guys on Pittsburgh as well. So, and low WOBA guys as well. So really like Gallen. I think he's not as low owned on DK because of the price, but on FanDuel, where he's going to come in a little bit lower than some of these other guys, I really like him tonight for sure. He's 41% on DK, and on FanDuel, out of that trio of guys, I think, I'm going back to check just to make sure, I think he's the lowest owned between Bassett. No, him and Bassett are about the same, and then Blake Snell has got the most at 31%.
By the way, Steve, you mentioned that San Fran lineup. It's not out just yet, but you're right. Longo is expected to be in it, but nothing official just yet. As far as FanDuel or ownership stuff, pitching-wise, and by the way, I saw somebody asking about Ohtani in the chat. Is Ohtani going to be popular tonight? No. That's one way to be different right there. Nobody's playing Ohtani. Just a heads up.
Yeah, that same person posted that Ohtani was replacing Suarez, and I looked everywhere, and I did not see that news. So,
were they talking about from a pitching perspective? If he was pitching, he'd be super popular. But
yeah, pitching perspective. So
I don't think he's.
I looked everywhere, and I didn't see any news about it. So, if it does come out, obviously that would change the slate, but we'll see. I don't think they can change him from hitter to pitcher, though, right?
Oh yeah, on the sites, you're probably right. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. You think they can figure it out. It's been 3 or 4 years now.
I don't even think he's in the pitching pool because they have to put him in the hitting pool, though.
I don't know. Yeah, that's probably a good call. It's probably not even a thing, but
I mean,
again,
DraftKings, I'm looking at it, and he's not in the player pool. So for pitching.
so FanDuel wise, as far as the pitchers ownership, what we have here is 26% for Snell, 21, 22 for Bassett, and 14 for Gallen. Personally, I think it's gonna be a little bit higher on Snell because he's the cheapest amongst the three, and probably projected. He is projected for the most points, so he's cheaper amongst the three. He's projected for the most points amongst the three, and of course, he's the most volatile amongst the three. We do have some umpire data. It is a Monday night, so there's new series going down, so we don't have all the umpire data. What we have right now is a couple extreme umpires. Extreme hitters umpire for Kikuchi and Lyles, so Toronto and Baltimore. Extreme hitters umpire, and we have an extreme hitters umpire for Bassett and Justin Dunn, as if Justin Dunn needs a more daunting task in front of him. The umpire probably not going to do him any favors either. It's pretty cut and dry. Well, you kind of said, like, you don't really have to go beyond this. You certainly can. Yeah. I don't know if I will either. I don't make 150 lineups. If I was, sure, I might extend it a little bit. Like Cole Irvin's not great, but he's fine, but he's not good from a DFS perspective. And the Angels, are horrific. I don't know how much of that I want to get. I don't know what kind of ceiling you get out of him. We talked about Kikuchi pre-show a little bit, and like he's probably going to strike out some Baltimore guys, but also his leash is so short. They might leave him like 70 pitches or so in 4 innings. Like that happens sometimes. I just can't really trust that. I think Thompson's one of the more interesting guys, 6.7K. He's fine. The ballpark is really going to play pitcher friendly. Let's pull up the weather edge, actually. It's with no debt. Let's see. We have a couple of fire emojis today. One in Baltimore, 89 degrees, slight breeze to center field, 8 miles per hour. In 77 previous games, a bump of homers of 19%. Mets Stadium, 34 game sample size, not huge, but it does have the fire emoji, 12 miles per hour to left center field, 86 degrees, 34 game sample size, 22% bump in homers, 21% bump in runs. And the Cubby game we're talking about here is 26% decrease in homers in a 49 game sample, 69 degrees. Nobody wants that. 16 degrees, 16 miles per hour as far as blowing in. Basically, not dead center, but left center in. Homers will be suppressed there. The offenses aren't good anyway. Stevie, what do you have here as far as Thompson? How much is he usable to you? Do you need him? That Washington lineup, obviously, pretty inept. No Soto, no Bell. They've gotten worse, and they've also got more strikeout friendly with the absence of those two hitters.
I mean, producer Steve has lineup HQ popped up right now, and you can see that, like, I wrote a blurb about Thompson over there. So, I mean, Eric did too. I don't know if I even saved it now that I look at it, though, because I'm pulling it up. But, yeah, I love Thompson today. Wrote him up on Scores and Odds as well. I like his strikeout prop in this game. Washington
I got the ladder, Stevie.
What's that?
I laddered him up, man. I got him at 5, 6, 7, and 8. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a great spot. And when he's on, like, his strikeout ceiling is high. And, I mean, Voit adds strikeouts. Robles is batting leadoff. He's a 26% K guy. Cruz is in the lineup. He's a 26% K guy. Thomas is in the lineup. He's a 28% K guy. Hernandez is in there. He's a 24% K guy. So, yeah, I mean, Ruiz at catcher, he's going to put the ball in play, but it's usually a ground ball. It's not a lot of hard contact, so I'm not uberly concerned about him. Hernandez and Franco at the bottom half of the order, they just stink. No power whatsoever in this lineup outside of Luke Voit. And I'll trade the power for the 30% K rate. So, yeah, I mean, I love Thompson here. The weather is just fantastic for pitching. 15 to 18 mile an hour blowing in. Like, this is a great spot for Keegan Thompson. And 6,700 on DK, he's playable. I think he's a contrarian play on FanDuel. I like what my lineup looked like with him over there. And we got the single entry series going on. So I think I'm going to roll out that lineup in that, was it $5 single entry series game tonight? So, yeah, Thompson's my pitcher over there right now, just to be different a little bit.
Couple things in chat. S4G says Washington still does not strike out without Soto and Bell. That's not true. They added Luke Voit too. Like, that's the other part. Like, they added.
Here's the thing: people go by the strikeouts they see on paper, which is the game log, and then they don't look at the other numbers. Like, they're going to strike out. Sorry, Dean, didn't mean to cut you off there, but I mean that's what happens. Even Corbin Burns and Brandon Woodruff, they're all going to have bad games from time to time. But overall, in the grand scheme of things, if you look over it, for instance, we took Corbin Burns and we took all these guys, and you thought it wasn't going to work out. Everybody's like, "Oh, Burns is dead after 2 innings." The guy finished with like 10 Ks. It's like, just let the guys do their job. It'll all work out in the end. And so, yeah, I'm with you, man. Washington is absolutely striking out like that call.
So he's making the point that Nola got 5 strikeouts, Bassett got 3. I had $500 on Nola over 6.5 yesterday. And I would bet it again. I'll bet it every single time. And it didn't work out. And sure, scoreboard.
And that's what so we're going to use 2 starts for a long-term investment of DFS. And I'm all in the trends. You know me, Dean. I'm in the trends because I like to adjust, but this isn't going to continue.
The other part is this: the contact guys on Washington. It's backloaded. So I mean, maybe he goes through this lineup 3 times and it doesn't matter. But maybe he goes through this lineup 2 3/3, 2 and you go through twice, and then 1 through 6 get their 3 at bats, and that's it. But like the contact guys are Franco, Hernandez, and Ruiz. It's front loaded with the strikeout guys. Robles at 28%, Garcia at 20%, Voit at 30%, Nelly Cruz at 26%, Hernandez at 23%. So, look, again, Thompson's not this incredible strikeout guy. They're also not asking for 7 or 8 strikeouts. They're asking for 5, over 4.5. So, look, Thompson's fine, and this lineup's terrible. And at worst, I think with 22.3% collectively, that's not a contact-heavy lineup. It's not like the greatest strikeout matchup, but it's good. It's a good strikeout matchup. And also, they're not patient. Robles at 4% as far as walking. Garcia never walks 1.2%, 5.9% collectively. It's not good. Steve, you talked about playing Thompson on Fanduel. I see Cheyenne in chat saying playing 10 lineups on Fanduel and just locking in Thompson. Now I'm okay with that, except what do you do with that money? I made some lineups I like with Snell that there are basically no bad bats. They're all good hitters. I might not have Judge. Sure, if you want Aaron Judge, that's one easy way to get him. But are you leaving money over, or are you just spending up on the big boys when you get Thompson?
I mean, if you stack the Mets on FanDuel, they're kind of pricey. Lindor 39, Alonso 42. Okay, that's all I got for pricey. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, it's not hard to build what lineup you want today on FanDuel. So yeah. I don't know if I'd go 10 for 10 on Thompson. I'm doing it to be different. I like the 2 4-man stack that I was able to build with Thompson. But yeah, I mean, on FanDuel, it's hard not to get Bassett, Snell, or Gallen because of, quality start, strikeouts, all that stuff. But I think Thompson is just a really interesting pivot in tournaments. We'll see how it works out. But I don't know if I'd go 10 for 10. I don't think I'd go 10 for 10 on any pitcher on this slate for what it's worth.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I think you could spread it up, and I'm
okay with stacking the Mets 10 times. That's a viable strategy with 10 different secondary stacks and switch in and out the pitchers and stuff. But I don't think this is a stack or a slate where I would stack a pitcher 10 times.
I'm really curious to have that conversation with the Mets because I think in baseball, whenever hitters get too chalky, you're supposed to kind of jump away in large fields. But this feels like good chalk, and I think there's ways to get different with the Mets lineup. One of the thoughts I have is just don't play a Mets first baseman in your stack. I'm not saying I'm not going to play him, but deliberately just have no Alonso or Vogelbach, and you play either Walker or Vladdy or whatever, somebody else, and that's one way to be different. Naquin's buried a little bit, so he's certainly got plenty of power. And Dunn, we'll talk about Dunn, just looking really, really vulnerable. I think a lineup just came out because my iPad is pinking over here. My notifications are going on. What did we just get? I assume something interesting. We got the Mariners. That's Frazier, France, Haniger, Winker, Suarez, Santana, Crawford, Raleigh, and Haggerty.
France is going to go yard tonight.
Who's Haniger's really cheap on both sides. I think he's kind of interesting. The A's lineup just came out too. Spoil, you guys are sitting down. It's bad. Bride, Pinder, Murphy, Lorraine, Anders, Brown, Piscotti, Allen, and Bolt. So there
We'll
you
talk
go.
about that Oakland lineup when we get going with bats.
What about throwing Suarez at him, or is that just one of those things where it's not necessary?
I would rather play Irvin, I think, in the same game. I mean, you could play either one of those pitchers if you want to. I just don't know if you're necessarily going to need them today. Suarez really bad against righties. It looks like you said that lineup came out, and I think it's 9 righties if I am looking at the same lineup as you. So, I mean, with Suarez's walks and his struggles against righties, I know he just put up like 20 against his team last week in LA. Could do it again. I just don't like him. I like Irvin more, but honestly, I don't like either one of them enough to play them on like my 3 entries today.
And also, like, you're begging for 6. Like, there's almost no chance to get 6 innings. I suppose it's possible, but you're begging for kind of 5-ish. He was pitching well against Oakland, 91 pitches. He went 5 innings, but before that, 5 1/3 versus KC, 3 2/3, 3 2/3, 4 2/3. They don't really let him go. Well, you got a thought on Suarez again? I know you sort of talked about basically focusing on the 3 best pitchers, and that's that. But say you're straying away, Suarez, Irving, and this stuff do anything for you?
Nope.
Yeah, fair enough. Tony in chat said Gallen had 7 strikeouts for Nats. I don't know how recent that was, if that was since Soto's been traded, but look, that stuff. I'll take my chances. You can't sim it out 1,000 times, but I would bet Nola over 6.5 strikeouts against that Washington lineup 1,000 times, and I feel like I would come out ahead. What are we waiting for? The San Francisco lineup, is that basically? Let's see, Mariners,
Arizona too, right?
Arizona, yeah, Arizona's gonna be. They're going to be a popular stack too. We'll talk about our stacks in a second, but I was looking at the.
I mean, it's only a handful of games, so it's a little bit interesting to get different tonight, and I do like the Yankees are going unowned.
Yeah,
and I think we can just talk about that later whenever you want to, but that was my takeaway after I kind of looked over the slate and kind of dug in here. The Yankees are getting no ownership tonight, and that's very interesting.
Yeah, you're supposed to, like, if you're playing so many lineups every single day, you're almost supposed to automatically have a Yankee stack, like a what-if Yankee stack every single time. Logan Gilbert's actually a good pitcher. We didn't really talk about him before I was pitching. I think he's pretty solid. He's also reverse splitsy, righty. So that righty power of Judge and Donaldson, I guess Donaldson still has power these days, and Torres. They're still missing Stanton. The lineup just falls off a little bit for me. But like even just Judge as like a one-off or like a little mini stack, I'm okay with. I guess we can talk about that. What are your thoughts as far as the Yankees? Do you feel like that's one way to get there, because they're going to be basically, I don't want to say unowned, but as a collective.
I mean, for a small slate, unowned, like it's 7 games, and their ownership projections are just really low. And clearly it's not a better, so it's not about the spot. This is not a better spot than some of these other teams. So I don't want anyone to think that I feel like the Yankees are a better play than the Mets against Justin Dunn. Like, I don't believe that. I don't feel like that's true. Are the Yankees a better play than the Blue Jays against Jordan Lyles? Probably not. But at these ownership levels, are the Yankees a really good play for a potent offense with no ownership? Absolutely. Like, the Yankees could score 6 runs tonight, and half of them could be home runs. And if you happen to pick the right guys, and there's a handful of guys that you should pick out of this lineup, you're getting Aaron Judge, Matt Carpenter, and probably Josh Donaldson would be your 3 choices, and combined you're getting them at no ownership. I'm in. Like, I'd sign up for that any day. It's just, of course, like I said, it's not the best spot against Gilbert, but I don't care. Like, the Yankees are absolutely a big time spot here. And then for what it's worth, I do feel like the Mets are garnering a lot of ownership, and this almost feels like a Coors Field spot to me where I want to fade, but I don't know if I can. because the pricing it's not like they're all expensive as if they're in cores. They're all very reasonable. So, but I did want to point out the Yankees.
Judge is the only Yankee that's getting over 10% ownership. We're seeing 23% on FanDuel, even less on DK. Looking at 10, and beyond that, DK wise, nobody getting like 7. On FanDuel, there's like some close 10% guys like Donaldson and LeMahieu, but otherwise, they're just going to be mostly neglected. The ballpark is bad as well too in Seattle. Negative ballpark tipped outside of New York. Stevie, you have a thought as far as the Yankees?
Yeah, I mean, I like the Yankees tonight. I think they're one way to get different. Gilbert throws 50+% fastballs, and they just crushed this dude in Yankee Stadium less than 5 days ago, 6 days ago, whenever it was. And like they hit sliders well, and that's kind of what he relies on. He's a 2-pitch pitcher. He throws a lot of fastballs and sliders. He needs to develop that third pitch this offseason, and I think that's when we'll see him take the next step. But I mean, they'll let him go out there and run his 5 innings if he's pitching okay. So I mean, that's solid. But yeah,
it's true though. It's so true. And I will say for a young pitcher, this is like off the beaten path here, but we got plenty of time. But
yeah, go off the beaten path.
I am glad that they do let him at least like get to his pitch count, even if he's in a jam. Like he's one that they're not going to pull. So if he's getting lit up in the 4th inning and he's at 75 pitches, we may get them batting around and get in the 5th until he hits his, 98 pitches or whatever, and then they'll pull him. So that should spell well for us if the Yankees, in fact, do kind of pop off here a bit late.
Yeah, I mean Seattle's playing meaningful games. So they're trying to win these games. So and he's one of their better arms. I don't think they would necessarily give him a quick hook, but I see in chat Tony saying Alonso is low owned, and I agree. I think this is a little bit low as far as Pete Alonso. Just kind of taking a peek at the ownership stuff. 15% on DK seems a little. I know he's expensive, but as far as big spends tonight, he's one of the premier big spends, and only 11% on FanDuel. Now he's the highest owned first baseman we have. Our ownership's pretty flat. 11% for Alonso, 10 for Guerrero, 10 for Vogelbach. I don't know. I think that's going to extend a little bit. Does that seem weird to you, Stevie? I think that's a little bit low on Alonso. Of course, this stuff changes. We're still an hour and a half, and they're always tinkering with the ownership stuff. For me, that seems a little bit low.
I think the biggest thing is like Vogelbach just being so cheap at 3,700, wanting to get Snell in there, wanting to get Gallen or Bassett in there. I don't think we see Pete Alonso come in under like 15 to 20% in most contests, but yeah. I think we see Vogelbach come in at higher ownership.
I was looking at, I'm always curious about the lefties, the number of lefties that are facing, and we have seen Vogelbach, they've kept them in versus lefties, and I believe they pinch hit for him as well. Like it's sort of situation dependent. I'm looking at the Reds bullpen. They do have 2 lefties in there, but they have San Martin, which is, this is so weird. He pitched 3 days in a row, right? So you typically don't throw him 4 days in a row, but on Friday, he threw 7 pitches. On Saturday, he threw 4 pitches. On Sunday, he threw 3 pitches. Like, what? It's like the old school loogie just coming in for one guy. I guess he's coming in with like 2 outs or something like that, and then he doesn't start the next inning. But just
no, he'd have to. I think, doesn't he have to start the next inning? Don't you have to face a minimum of 3 guys unless it ends the game?
I think you have to do it. You can't come out in the middle of an inning, but I think you're allowed to come in, and if you clean that inning up, then you can come out. Is that not true?
I thought you had to face 3 batters.
Well, how is he getting 3 guys out in 3 pitches?
Because it could just be the end of the game. Like, they just don't get back.
Interesting. That's
I could be wrong. I mean, that rule has changed a bunch over the last 2 or 3 years to get to where we're at. But I thought because like teams were just bringing in a guy to face one guy and then taking him out, and it was slowing down the pace of play.
But here's, by the way, saying that if the inning ends, you're good. So.
Yeah. Okay. So really quick, just to talk about Vogelbach and pinch hitting in general in this spot. Cincinnati has the worst bullpen in baseball for what it's worth. And 2, he's followed by 3 lefties tonight, and that kind of worries me a little bit because they could bring in a lefty and face him McNeil and Nyquin back to back to back. But I mean, I don't know. I still think Vogelbach gets his at bats here. I don't see them pinch hitting for him. I mean, if pinch hit for anybody, it'd probably be Nyquin with Mark Canha. They do have Darren Ruff now too.
Ruff would spell Vogelbach, I think, if the situation calls for it.
Yeah. So
like, okay, if it's the 8th inning and they're down by 2 and it's a bases loaded and a lefty comes in, like Vogelbach's coming out for Ruff. But that's
the game's not going to be that close. So it's not going to matter.
Correct. And also, like, the Reds are not in the business of winning games. They don't care. They really matching up lefty-righty stuff. And again, one of their lefties has gone for the last 3 days, and Detweiler has gone 2 of the last 3. Like, again, you might see him. If you do, you probably see him at the Vogelbach, McNeil, Naquin. But again, are the Reds even like trying to win? Do they care like strategy-wise for this stuff, or they just want to, hit the sim button on the season? It's just, you never really know what the team's motivations are. But Vogelbach can hit a home run in the first inning, and who cares if he gets pinch hit for? That's the other part of it.
I like Pete Alonso more. On FanDuel, I like the idea of playing them both.
Let's see. Yeah, Timothy saying 3 outs if you start an inning. If you don't start an inning, you have to finish the inning. Yeah, there you go. That's basically that's what's going on there, I suppose. Did we get some?
Well, if it helps you any, and I'm using last season's numbers for Dunn just to kind of get a baseline. He's pretty much going to be fastball. At least he was last season, about 55%, and 27% curve. So I think I'm pretty sure it's going to be mostly fastball tonight. Again, I don't see him suddenly, changing what he's going to do. And so if you look at this year's numbers, Vogelbach is sitting at an 88% contact rate on fastballs between 92 miles per hour and 94 miles per hour. That's actually really good for him. 88% contact rate, 11% whiff rate, and a 12% ground ball rate. So the ball is going to be in the air. The hard hit rate is only at 36%, 219 ISO, 410 WOBA, and that's in 27 plate appearances, batted ball events. So I like him a lot here. I think the Mets lefties, if Nemo, Lindor, Vogelbach, McNeil, like Naquin, I think they're good. Eduardo Escobar, my boy. So I like the Mets a great deal. I don't think I'm going to get off of them. I think I'm just going to try to get a little different in other spots. They're clearly facing one of the worst pitchers on the slate.
Y'all see Vogelbach motor on those bases this weekend? Anybody having to catch
fast,
that?
Bro.
I mean, he's sneaky fast. I mean, he's the best. The Mets, the fan base, I'm sure Steve can speak to us. They love him. I mean, he seems. How do you not love Vogelbach and watch him run on the bases? His tiny steps.
Didn't he steal a base against Syndergaard?
No, I don't think he's stolen a base in his career because
someone crazy stole. Was it? Okay.
Jesus Aguilar stole his first base of his career at age 32, 33 against Thor a month ago or so.
Okay, that's what I was thinking of. And really quick, for what it's worth, Farmer just got scratched for Cincinnati, and Solano.
So the lineup's going to be even worse.
It went from
Farmer actually doesn't strike out that much.
I don't remember who was not in it, but it's India, Senzel, Moose, Votto.
Solano is in it for Farmer.
Okay, that's what it is.
What's Solano's K rate? Because Farmer was their low K guy.
20-something%.
Oh, we have a fabulous tool. We can pull this up. We can hit the old refresh.
No, I'm in Plate IQ right now.
Go for it. What do you have?
Well, Solano. Have they added 21%. Solano in there? 21. That's more than 16.
Wow, that would be more. By the way, Stevie, you mentioned it. I might as well let the people know it's the start of a new week. So if you did not take down the FanDuel single entry series like I did not last week, I'm going to try it again. How does that go down? Every single week, it's a different increment as far as buy-in. This is the $5 one. Last week was the $2 variety, the $100 variety. There are several weeks more going forward. Clean slate, your top 4 scores Monday through Sunday. You can tank 3 slates. You can take off 3 slates and just bank the first 4. Who cares how that goes down? But your top 4, if you finished number 1 against everybody else that's competing in this contest, this is just added value into the contest. You play the contest as is. It pays out as a standard single entry. But now on top of that, if you finish first collectively with your top 4 scores, you win yourself a trip to Chicago, the single entry series finals. You got a shot at $10,000. And I believe that's just against 8 other finalists, $50K as far as the total prize pool. So yeah, feel free to check that out. And while we're at it, do want to mention the NFL preseason. That is a thing that's happening. I know PSU fans is working hard on that. I believe, speaking of binking contests, I believe he binked the very first slate, the showdown slate. So shout out to him and shout out to Eugenio, who was also on the podium or top 5, taking some money down in the showdown season. You really have to grind hard. There are some bad lineups you'll see. People just playing players that just are not playing, just in shorts on the sideline, 23% owned. You do want to get on that. With your premium subscription, you'll get some RG preseason content, top of the line projections, help you build yourself some winning lineups in the Lineup HQ. Do not forget, you can hang out in the Discord channel. Discord channel is super useful for preseason because it's an information slates. They're all information slates, and people are just doing their best on Twitter, and they're just throwing whatever viable tweets that are relevant, who's not playing, who is playing, following those beats, dropping it into the Discord channel. So if you guys are playing preseason seriously, you do want to check out the Discord channel specific to preseason. Stevie, just give me the summary as far as arms. If somebody joined late, pitchers, what would summarize the slate for me?
I mean, I think we all are in agreement that Bassett, Gollin, Snell, in whatever order you want to put them, are the top 3 pitchers on the slate. Keegan Thompson is someone that's in play against Washington. You could roll the dice with Suarez or Irvin in that matchup. Both of those teams kind of stink right now. Don't see myself using either of the Seattle, New York pitchers. 2 really solid offenses, 2 pitchers that, I mean, Tyon, just his command is awful right now. So definitely don't want to play him. And then, I mean, if you really want to get weird, I guess you could play Kikuchi. We didn't really talk about him, but I think there's better options than playing him today because they just, as good as he is and the ceiling that he used to have, they just don't let him go deep into games. So I think you're going to be elsewhere than Yusei Kikuchi today.
What would you like to add to that, Will?
Nothing.
All right, let's talk about pitchers. Let's talk about stacks. We've kind of hit that a couple times. And we've sort of referenced, Justin Dunn, who's throwing baseballs.
Let's talk about stacks, baby.
Let's talk about you and me.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I won't play that one. I will not play that one.
Copyright strike. Here it comes. So Dunn, he got injured last year, but when he pitched last year, he was actually super lucky. And he had a 3.75 ERA, good for him. But his BABIP was 238. Left on base was almost 80%. Fly balls, 50.7% fly balls, 5.18 Sierra. Now he's going to be facing a Mets team that hits a ton of fly balls. Oh, and I should say it's worth noting how terrible he was so far in the minors. He was promoted, but this wasn't a promotion because of merit based or I don't know. Maybe they were out of arms. I'm not sure what's going on. They just want to see what he has. But he's been horrendous in the minors. 7 minor league starts. We don't talk a lot of whip around here, but 1.82 whip is disastrous. 6.75 ERA. The walks are just really alarming. 28 innings, 17 walks. It just does not look good. It feels like he set up a failure.
It does not.
I mean, look, again, goofy baseball stuff happens all the time. You have shortstops cleaning up a game that have like a clean inning in the 9th inning. Like anybody can throw, just kind of get lucky, and that's going to happen. But the Mets, that 16 total seems fully justified. And across the board, consensus-wise, if you look at our rankings, myself, Dave Potts, Head Chopper, Tuttle, you know what? I lied. Tuttle's got the Mets at 2. He's got Toronto at 1, which I think everybody else has Toronto basically at 2 or 3. It seems like you're in agreement. We talked about it as far as the Mets. Other teams that are going to compete with the Mets as far as stacks, what are your thoughts?
I mean, Toronto, I talked about the Yankees, and I definitely think the Yankees are, especially, I do want to see this lineup. I think it's going to be, pretty close to what we have projected. I definitely think the Yankees are on the list. I'm assuming we don't believe in Tyler Beede on this show, so I think the Diamondbacks you can sprinkle in some alternates. And I think that's mostly it for me. I really wish the wind wasn't blowing in incredibly in Chicago. Like if we had normal weather, I think I'd take a shot at attacking Anibal Sanchez, but it's just the weather's just not conducive, and so that kind of scratched the Cubs out off the list for me. Someone random is going to hit a home run. against Yusei Kikuchi. I don't know who it is. If I had to guess, if I absolutely had to guess, I'd say probably Santander. Like if I had to guess right off the top of my head, but I think that's absolutely coming. But I still don't want to stack Baltimore for what it's worth. But all in all, it's kind of those big three teams, some sprinkles of Arizona, and you kind of go from there. Like I don't believe in Jose Suarez, and I don't believe in Cole Irvin, but these offenses are so bad. I just don't think there's any reason to try to invest in them. And as I say that out of my mouth, I'm sure somebody's going to stack the Los Angeles Angels or the Oakland A's, hoping to win all the money, and I just don't see it.
I know somebody in chat that's going to stack the A's. You mentioned the Cubs. Last night when I was looking at the slate, I love Wisdom and I love Contreras. And Adamo Sanchez with 38, 39, 40 years old at this point, throwing baseballs and reverse flitsy. And I just love that righty power. And I hate that it's chasing me away. And I'm not going to have it fully chase me away. Like Wisdom was my favorites, like just random dude, the homer. Not sure. I don't know what to do with that, Stevie, because, again, the wind and the weather matters more in Chicago than anywhere else. It's blowing at 50 miles per hour. Now, does that mean Wisdom's homer, instead of going like 19 rows up, it's only 7 rows up? Or is ball just going to die on the warning track and it's going to be miserable? And you're going to see barrel alert out. And I hate that Twitter account. What are we doing with the Cubs? Because I think they're an interesting pivot team.
The wind, Wrigley is such a wind-sensitive ballpark, and the fact that we're gonna get consistent wind blowing in throughout this game is, 26% on Weather Edge negative for home runs in this game. I like to see a lot of green when I open up Weather Edge, and there's a lot of red here. So the thing is, Anibal Sanchez, he's a big fly ball guy. So how much, can he keep the ball in the ballpark with this wind? I think is the biggest question. He's reverse splits. He's better against lefties. All the power right in this lineup is right-handed with Suzuki, Wisdom, and Contreras. So I could see the Cubs being that stack that everyone's like, man, I let the wind talk me off of that one. And they have a good game, but definitely concerning with the wind. But Sanchez, 55% hard hits on 44% fly balls this year against right-handed hitters. So there's some upside with some of these power righties.
Hoosier saying banners, asking where Kirk Dees is, and then speculating maybe he's getting his piano lessons. Yeah, he's been working the ivories. My understanding, he's been doing pretty good in the piano these days. You're talking about Baltimore, Will. Aaron's asking Santander or Hayes on FanDuel. Play IQ has them very close. You have a preference as far as Hayes versus Santander?
Let's see. I'm going to give you my tiebreaker here. Santander, Hayes. 1 second, okay? Just 1 second.
I did see a question. How do we feel about McKenna as a one-off? He's leading off for Baltimore today. Mullins got dropped drastically in that lineup.
Between those two, give me Hayes.
Okay. I was just going to say, as far as McKenna, I think it's possible that he gets the hook when I think Valvra can come and spell him. Yeah. So when a righty comes in, we might see Valvra. Just a heads up. He's a lefty. Go ahead.
Let me retract my statement here, Dean. I said Santander would probably be the one to hit a home run. It's probably Austin Hayes, for what it's worth. Sorry about that.
Mateo's the answer, by the way. Secret option 3. Yeah.
I'm going Austin Hayes. That's my final answer. Austin Hayes home run first at bat.
Can we?
Some homers.
No, I was just saying, can we talk about the elephant in the room really quick?
Which is?
Alan Lem would be very disappointed in us if we did not mention that this is a revenge spot for Justin Dunn.
I forgot he was a Met. I feel like
he was drafted by the Mets, first round draft pick by the Mets.
Alan making his way onto a show yet again.
He never pitched in the majors for the Mets, but he was drafted by the Mets.
I feel like he played for Seattle. Was he a Mariner?
He played for Seattle for the last few years. He was in a trade. The Mets can. Are they responsible for ruining this really strong reliever. Like that's what he was in college. He was very good at being a relief power. But yeah, I'm just saying, like, I'm still okay. I'm just throwing this out here as a joke more than anything else. But yeah, he was drafted as like a huge prospect by the Mets in.
Chat saying, yeah, Dunn was in the Kelnick for Cano and Diaz deal. Wow, that takes us back.
Yeah, I think it's 2015 or 2016. He was a first-round draft pick by the Mets.
Aaron saying you really like the Hayes on plate IQ as well. Yeah, and Kikuchi again. He'll give up some homers. I don't know how long he sticks around in the game. It's the other part of it too. And I think McKenna is a decent chance he gets the hook also, which hurts that stack. Not that you have to play McKenna, and I know he's super cheap, and I get it. On FanDuel, at least he's 2K. Is he like a flat-out punt on DK as well? Oh, he's 2K and DK as well. Yeah.
You guys said the wrong answer, by the way. The home run is Mountcastle.
So we need to be stacking Baltimore then. That's what we need to do.
I'm not stacking Baltimore, but I mean, the dude, he crushes fastballs, and that's what Kikuchi throws. So
I just hate what they did to left field, man. It's so terrible what they ruined that ball. Like, I mean, I guess that their pitching looks better on paper. Like, good for you, but it's, it was modified. And you saw the thing with Mancini. I'm sure you saw the thing with Mancini. It's like, well, he had 11 home runs, and if every one of his home games were in Houston this season, now of course Houston's kind of a drastic comparison because the Crawford boxes are so close, but he would have had 22 homers as opposed to 11. The way they extended those the left field fence is just silly. I think they went too far with it, which kind of, I don't like righty power nearly as much in Baltimore, and that kind of speaks to Toronto as well too. But again, now Vladdy, does he hit like a homer in the 10th row as opposed to the 20th row? It's still going out. Toronto is certainly an interesting team. Lyles, not a pitcher we're necessarily afraid of. They are without Springer, which hurts that offense, I think, a significant bit. Merrifield is, just been rough this year. Theoretically, there's still something left in that bat, but like the stats say otherwise. But he's been he's been bad this year. If you look at his numbers, it's like, whoa. Like, I was looking at his I can pull it up in a second, but let me throw it to you, Will. As far as Toronto, are they worth talking about? Like, are they one of your favorite stacks? Because for me, they are.
Absolutely.
Left field.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely think they can get there. I mean, Jordan Lyles is, man, lefties, just rough. I mean, if you look at plate IQ, if you're just in the color schemes, red everywhere. And then to righties, while he may be limiting some damage in the ISO department, still getting 40% hard hits. So I like Toronto. Definitely think this is a spot they can get off. Still like the Baltimore ballpark. A guy that's still going to be, fastball slider. So I like Toronto. I think they're a team that can get the job done. And if they can hit Lyles early, then we're going to get a little bit of bullpen. So definitely Toronto's in play. Really good team. I can't wait for George Springer to be back. This lineup will continue to get more and more potent. They're definitely on the list.
Frank in chat says Caesar's got Vlad at 4-1. Yeah, I bet that early in the morning, and I'm not sure if that's changed or not. Despite the fact I hate the ballpark, I think Vladdy at 4-1 in a pretty good matchup was probably a little bit too high. And I got Alejandro Kirk at like plus 650 or something like that. We also have a BBP guy. I don't know where Chop is. Chapman's got monster numbers versus Lyles. I'm pulling up.
Well, Chapman is in my lineup, man. He's been great here recently.
He's been awesome of late, outside of like what he does against Lyles. What could he possibly have done against Lyles? Because I'm seeing, okay, there it is. 6 for 17 with a double and 3 homers, 6 strikeouts. Are we excited, Stevie?
That's solid. I thought you were gonna say 6 for 17 with 1 double and 5 singles, and then I was going to laugh.
I'm just the chat directed me here. I did not look at the BVP stuff. I rarely do. But, and we have time.
Chapman, I mean, throughout his career, Chapman's always hit fastballs and sliders well. So that doesn't shock me that he hits Lyles well, because 70% of the pitches that Lyles is going to throw at righties is a fastball or slider.
I have not prompted the chat to hit that like button so kindly. Hit that like button. It helps us immensely with the, the YouTube algorithm, our egos, all that. Hit the like button, subscribe, turn on notifications. We got Chief Mineralogist Kevin Roth got about 25 minutes or so, as well as Dave Potts, 2-time millionaire winner. Cheeseisgood, Derek Carty, taking you guys straight up the lock. We got Love Chat now, too. Okay, before we had Naked HD. Now we got Love Chat. We have competing spam. That's good to see here in the YouTube streets.
We're at 54. We're at 54 likes, Dean. 100 likes. I'll give out a 3-for-3 prize picks play.
Oh, there you go. What are you giving away, Will? You got anything for the people?
Listen, man. Nope. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
He'll hit him with the nope.
Stevie said we get to 100. He's giving out a 3-for-3 prize picks. If we get to 120, I'll give out what I'm playing tonight on prize picks and my 5-for-5 flex. That'll
and they
get you
probably
10.
can get that. Now, I'm not saying to work around, and I'm not saying they should hit the like button, but they probably can get that in the prop shop, right?
Yeah, they could.
They can't get mine in the prop shop because I haven't posted it there. So.
Check out the prop shop, rotogrinders.com/Discord. Some of those channels are free. Some of those channels are premium. Chief, he's a man of the people, so the prop shop is free. Padres lineup is out. Profar, Soto, Machado, Bell, Durry, Kim. Cronenworth versus the lefties batting 7th. Myers and Alfaro, the catcher, batting 9th.
That lineup is dirty, man.
Wait until Tatis comes back, man.
Middle of the month. He's on a rehab assignment, middle of the month.
Speedy, tell me why. I mean, okay, let's say Tatis is back. Why would it not be Soto, Tatis, Machado? Why would Soto not lead off? We don't need Profar to get more bats than everybody else. Stop it.
I mean, we don't know what the lineup. Tatis might hit lead off. We don't know.
Well, Soto's just like a walk machine, a power machine. Like he's an incredible leadoff hitter.
I mean, Tatis is really good.
They're all good, yeah, but not okay. How about this? Just not Soto. Have it 1 through.
I mean, they're in that conversation of like the Astros, the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Blue Jays lineup where you just don't want to face them. Yeah, I mean, the Braves strike out a ton, so you can beat the Braves with a good pitcher.
Do you want runners on for Soto? Yeah, you get runners on for Soto.
Let me put my. I was trying to put my feather in the cap here, but
listen, the Braves are a really good lineup, but they're beatable, right? They strike out a ton. Like San Diego, they don't strike out a lot, so it's tough.
Speaking of catchers, let's go around the horn. We'll do catcher pretty quickly. Stevie, who do you have as far as catcher tonight?
Who's the cheapest catcher that's in the lineup right now?
Okay, so I'm assuming you're asking for DK?
No, I'm actually joking. If I want to spend up, I mean, this is probably going to throw some people off today, but if I want to spend up, I like Sean Murphy. We're going to talk about Oakland a couple times on this breakdown, but Sean Murphy crushes left-handed pitching, so I like him. And in that same game, if he's in the lineup, we don't have an Angels lineup yet. Kurt Suzuki is 2,400 on DK, so I definitely don't mind him. Cheap catcher is kind of tough today. I mean, this is a position where we might actually be paying up a little bit and getting like Alfaro. I hate the fact that he's batting 9th in a tough matchup, but he's 3,700. So I want Suzuki. I really want Suzuki to be in the lineup. I want to save some money, or I want to pay up and get Sean Murphy today.
I like Kirk at 4.3. By the way, the cheapest guy at 2K still minimum DK is your boy Papierski. Paper, what'd you call him?
Paper Sky, baby. That's his new nickname. I'm calling Paper Sky. I don't even care what the YouTube or the Google machine says. I'm going to call him Paper Sky.
We talked about it the other day. Do you know what, speaking of catchers and nicknames, you know what Cal Raleigh's nickname is?
I'm interested.
Big Dumper.
Whew, I don't know if I like that one.
Will, do you like the Big Dumper?
How do you be like, hey, I'm okay with that nickname?
I don't know if you can fight it. Like you're just anointed a nickname, and that's that. You just gotta deal with it, I suppose.
Yeah, don't really want to go with the Big Dumper. I think that's when I leave on the shelf.
I feel like that's just gonna kill. I mean, when you're having a season like Riley's having, you just be like, hey, we're changing my nickname, or I'm gonna stop.
Just go with it, man. Whatever works.
Nope.
Because I had to go. It's a Common track, by the way. Common. Music's in my brain today, just like every other day. So
yeah, no worries.
There you have it.
Well, you're a musician. You play the drums. You play the keyboards, right? I don't know why in that world.
Facts.
We gotta see you and Cheese do a duet one of these days.
Possibly.
Hoosiers in chat's asking where the big dumper is in the lineup for Seattle. He's batting 8th. And check out the lineups page. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything, and they're all just kind of in order. The prices are next to them. I'll drop that in chat if you aren't aware. Chief, you got anything to add as far as catcher, or you want to jump to first base?
Yeah, let's hop on over to first. Definitely going to be in on Pete Alonso. Definitely going to be in on Vlad. Can't play them both on DK. Can play them both on FanDuel, and I think that's going to be different. I don't think people are going to play Vlad and Pete, and so that's something I'm exploring, trying to see if I can make it work as we speak. We haven't talked a lot about Arizona, but Christian Walker at 3,800, if you need a little bit of salary relief, is there. And then, of course, especially because everybody's going to be on Daniel Vogelbach or some combination thereof of him and Pete, I still like Christian Walker here at home, but Vogelbach at 3,700 is definitely in play.
My hot take today in the expert survey was that the highest scoring player in the slate would be Christian Walker. I'm just trying to think of ways to be different. And, obviously I don't think that's likely to happen. That's why it's a hot take and it's out there. It's whatever. But certainly he has the ability. I think he's an interesting pivot away from, Alonso and Vladdy, two of the best bats on the slate. And then like the cheapie like Vogelbach as well. Stevie, what do you have as far as first?
My hot take on the expert survey was Arizona is going to score the most runs on the slate.
Well, there you go. That's kind of the same thing.
I mean, you guys kind of nailed it. Pete Alonso, Vogelbach, 2 top options. Really like Vlad and Christian Walker, like you mentioned. So I do think just kind of looking at like batted ball profile stuff, I really do think Ty France hits a home run today against Tyon. I don't know, like he's not going to make the cut for me in DFS because I only play 3 lineups, but just a really, really good spot for him. Sneaky good spot for Ty France today against Tyon. So I think Tyon hits a home run.
And I'm going to guess he's like 3% owned.
No one's going to play him today. I wonder what his like prop is to actually like hit a home run though today. I didn't look.
I can check out the scores and odds tool. I'm curious now that you bring it up. I'll pull it up in a second. I'll let you jump to second base, Stevie, as I see what the Ty France's homer odds are.
Second base is one of those positions I feel like a lot of people are going to play McNeil or Marte. And I'm not going to argue with them. I think those are the 2 best second basemen today. You could play LeMahieu if you want to. But, yeah, I mean, McNeil at 4,400 on DK, he's cheap. And then Marte is kind of expensive on DraftKings, but I think he's 3,300 on FanDuel. So kind of underpriced over there. I think we, maybe get some ownership on Bride batting leadoff for Oakland against Suarez just because he's so cheap and there's not like a lock second baseman today. So I think we see some ownership to Bride on DK at 2,400.
All right, Stevie, I'm taking some of that Bubba Wallace money and I'm putting it on France. I like these odds. You tell me. What are the odds you bet it? What's an appealing number for you if you can bet on France the homer?
As high, I mean, he was very high on my model today, and I do a lot of batted ball profile stuff on my model. So if it was like anything better than like 6-1, I would bet it.
It is better than 6-1. It's plus 675 specific to Caesars. So I'm on there right now. I'm trying to get it. So I'm going to knock it out in a second. And your thoughts here, Will, as far as second base? Is Will on mute?
No, he's frozen.
Will is frozen. Let's see it. Yeah, he's giving like the side profile shot. I guess he's not moving. He's not budging. Maybe we'll get him in a second. But
that's his good side.
Is that his good side? All right.
I don't know.
Do you think you have a good side? Like, is there a better side?
Nah.
It's all the same.
It's all the same. There ain't no good. Someone asked in chat earlier if I was working at McDonald's and.
Oh, you wearing like a headset? Is that what's going on? Yeah.
No,
you're wearing a McDonald's hat.
Yeah, it's a Jamie McMurray NASCAR hat.
How would one know that? I mean, I know in NASCAR, like they have like a billion sponsors, but like he's known.
Probably. Yeah, it has Chip Ganassi Racing on the back. There you go.
How much should I wager on this home run? How confident do you feel?
I mean, we just talked about it. If it was 6-1, I don't know what is your normal unit.
I mean, a homers, I usually bet somewhere between 50 and 100.
So do like $25. That pays for your dinner.
No, wait. Why would it? No, I typically bet like between 50 and 100. Why would I bet 25?
Because I'm just trying to buy you dinner.
Oh, well, hold on. We're gonna now. I don't like. I'm gonna bet $69 on.
See, that should have been the answer. That was the right answer.
For no specific reason.
Yeah, that was the right answer.
Let's go tie France.
That was the right answer.
What else is? All right, I'm keeping an eye on the chat. We're gonna have plenty of time for the chat. I think we are, especially if Will doesn't jump back and it's just the two of us having a conversation here. Throw your questions in there. 12 minutes, give or take. We got the Crunch Time crew. We got Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth. We got Dave Potts. We got Derek Carty taking you guys straight up to lock. And they're not, Roth might not answer your questions if you're on YouTube. He focuses on the premium Discord channel as he should. So if you want, hey, I want to see what Roth has to say or want to see what the Potts has to say, well, they'll try. They try to get your questions, but those are prioritized. Myself, I prioritize the YouTube chat, and I should probably take a gander at what's going on premium-wise. But give me third base, hot corner. Who do you like?
We're at 86 likes. We need
14
more. 14 more, and I'll give out a 3-for-3 prize picks. I have it fired up and ready to go because I have faith in the chat to get us to 100. But third base is interesting. You guys talked about Chapman. Wisdom, if the wind wasn't blowing in so much, is in a fantastic spot. I really like Josh Rojas. Listen, you're going to see a common theme from me. I like Arizona a lot. If you want to get super crazy in tournaments, Brandon Durry absolutely mashes left-handed pitching, and no one's going to play him at this price today.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you take a shot on that. San Diego is kind of sneaky against Alex Wood. He does give him a ton of hard contact. And that lineup is just so good now. Like Durry has a 340 ISO against lefties this year. So, but I mean, third base is kind of open. I mean, that's another spot you could play that Bride guy, but I like him more at second base.
Diamondbacks lineup is out. Rojas, Thomas, Marte, Walker, Varsho. Those are the first five that I think are pretty clearly the most interesting. Then it's McCarthy, Beer, Kelly, and Perdomo. Other side of that game, O'Neal Cruz batting seventh, which is kind of annoying. I sort of liked him as a one-off versus Gallen. Just incredible power. He's got holes in his swing, but when he gets a hold of it, it's just awesome to watch the ball go. No Brian Hayes in that lineup for Pittsburgh. Let's see. We're waiting on the Yankees, waiting on the Angels, and waiting on the Giants. Jeremy said, should Weather Edge scare us off Bassett? Why? No, I'm not scared off Bassett because of
Weather Edge. That lineup.
Yeah, I mean, you got to hit it, right, for starters. And it is a good ballpark, so everything's kind of relative. So, yeah, I know we talked about the Mets, taking advantage of a positive ballpark situation or better than it typically is, but that's against Dunn. And, is it ideal for Bassett? No, the weather's the same for both guys, but you look and who's really going to be, of course, they're all professionals and whatever. Anyone can take them deep. Even your boy Papirski. Barrero is actually not a terrible cheapie, but I'm not running away from it because of it's hot and the weather, the wind's blowing out a little bit. It's not.
We got 100 likes.
All right, fire it off. What do you got for the people?
We got Chris Bassett over 18.5 pitching outs, Keegan Thompson over 4 strikeouts, and Pete Alonso over 1.5 total bases.
Polar Bear. All right, hit up shortstop. Who do you like at shortstop tonight?
Will's back. Do you want to ask him about third base? He's back.
Oh, I didn't know he was back.
I know. No. You're the host and you don't leave the show up. We need to have a discussion about that. Your mustache is in the way of you looking and seeing who's on the show.
I got it. It's course. I just you guys commented on it in the pre-show like why do you still have that? I'm like, I don't even know. I just at this point it's a lame duck mustache.
It's so bad it's good, but it's not good. It's just so bad.
It's so bad it's good.
Well, I'm wearing it at this point for irony purposes. When I go out in nature and I see
gosh. It's it's so bad it's
for ironic purposes. They think that I think this is legit, and I know it's not legit. But how do you tell somebody? How do you communicate with them? How do you know you're just being like some goofy hipster or something without actually saying it? Big Hurt says you never answer questions in live stream chat and Discord. What happened? You know what? That's my bad. I should get on top of that more. And and producer Steve, if you happen to see any of those, feel free to throw them my way. If you see any questions, that's my mistake. I own it. Will, third base, what do you got?
Look, man, third base, super easy here. I do like Manny Machado as a one-off. Nobody's going to play Manny tonight at 5,100 on DK. I think he's 3,800 on FanDuel. That's definitely one of my favorites, Matt Chapman, just because I really like him in terms of building him into the Toronto stack. I don't ever mind playing Eduardo Escobar in my Met stacks. He's another guy that, from time to time hits the long ball. So I like him a lot as well. And I don't mind Eugenio Suarez. We talked about Jameson Taillon just seeming to have meltdowns every start now. And so Suarez at 4,300, a guy that's got, going to strike out, but he's got some power. In fact, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Eugenio Suarez took Jameson Taillon deep when they were playing the Yankees just last week or the week before, 2-run homer. And not that he's going to hit another one today, but definitely like Eugenio.
Derek says I should change my last name to Ambrose. I believe that's a wrestler.
We're at 105, Stevie. Stevie, we're almost there.
Are you excited to give the people nothing, Will?
No, listen, they're going to get a 5 flex that I have not, once again, posted in the chat. So I'm excited about this. I'm excited.
Catastrophe. Any love for Suarez pitching against Oakland? I don't think it's love, but like you're willing to do it, right, Stevie? We don't love Suarez, but like you could do it, I guess.
I like the Oakland Bats more than like Suarez, but I mean you could do it. Oakland is the worst team in baseball.
Yeah,
I mean, Detroit maybe, Washington maybe now, but Cincinnati maybe now. Gosh, man, there's some really bad teams.
There's some very bad teams. Yeah.
Was it like 2 or 3 years ago we like picked on the Marlins every slate? We have like 4 Marlins teams that you can pick on every slate, and 3 of them are on the slate today.
Let's talk about shortstop, Will. Lindor is going to be super popular. Not hard to fit at all, especially on FanDuel. 3.9K there. Bichette at 3.4 seems like a reasonable price. I mentioned Cruz, but like there's not a lot of great pivots. I talked about Mateo before, but shortstop's just not a very deep position, so ownership's going to condense on those guys. Where are you at as far as short?
Yeah, man, it's super easy. I'm not overthinking this. You already know who it is. It's Lindor. It's Bo Bichette. I'll figure it out from there. Like those are only 2 guys I'm playing.
Stevie, shortstop. What do you want to add?
I really don't have much to add. I think if you want to save some money, you could go JP Crawford, but I hate the fact that he's hitting 7th.
We're at 109, and I have not posted this in the prop shop yet, so I can hold it for this show. And I don't ever do this to my prop shop peeps.
Says Crawford is mid-priced on Yahoo. Like, okay, I have not built a Yahoo lineup, but like sometimes as a salary saver, just to kind of make stuff work, and you're going double barrel, I guess. But you don't feel great about it. And somebody else threw out Elvis Andrus. I have not rostered Elvis Andrus since like 1972. I'm not starting tonight. Whatever. If he homers, so be it. Like that's not good for me. But there's just no power in that bat at this point. Stevie, Arizona mini stack, is that too chalky on DK? It's gonna be. There's some popular guys in Arizona lineup, I think.
People are gonna overthink the slate because they always overthink the slate. So if you like Arizona, stack them.
Let's see. And what else is going on here? I saw something. Yeah, they're talking about worst team, the Nationals. I saw somebody say, yeah, Moki says the White Sox. The White Sox. Maybe most disappointing.
Oh, we're 1 away. We're at 119. My gosh.
Hold on a second. David Fletcher, BVP. Like, that can't be real, right? Like, what could that possibly you know what? I mean, for David Fletcher, he's 8 for 15 with 2 doubles, which is and a homer. Look at the power in David Fletcher. Herbert really brings it out. 1 strikeout, 2 walks. I mean,
120, Dean.
What do you got for the people?
We made it to 120. Let me go ahead. I got to give this thing out. We pull it up. So, for those of you, Dean, did I cut you off? I'm sorry. I don't want to hijack
you're good. Show. Go for it.
For those of you that have been in the prop shop, you know that, and on Prize Picks, they've got MLB, what they call live props. So, these are going to be innings 1 through 2. So, we hit these. You're going to go to the bank early with the funds. So I'm taking Chris Bassett over 2 strikeouts in the first 2 innings. Keegan Thompson, this is good value here. Over 1.5 strikeouts in the first 2 innings. That's actually really good value because Prize Picks gives us the push frequently on this. Zach Gallen, over 2 strikeouts in the first 2 innings. Blake Snell, over 2.5 strikeouts in the first 2 innings. He's a guy that can get 3 quickly. And Yusei Kikuchi, believe it or not, over 2 strikeouts in the first 2 innings. Full MLB live card. Haven't even dropped this in the prop shop. If anybody from the prop shop is watching, they just heard me say it live on the air, and I'm about to drop that in there right now. This is a good card. Folks, let me tell you something. Stevie knows. This is a good card. This feels like a winner. Feels like a winner.
Taking Steam says, what do you like about how do you feel about Mateo as a low-end shortstop? I like that. I think that's a good way to be different. He's got a nice little speed power combination that works for DFS. And, again, I like Lindor and Bichette more, but ownership and lineup and salary are all things. Stevie, what do you got in the outfield?
I mean, most of the time in the outfield, you're just looking at who you're stacking, right? So on the Mets, you're looking at Marte, Nimmo, Nyquin. Nyquin pinch hit risk slightly there. We talked about it with Kana there potentially, but there's only 2 lefties, and like Dean pointed out, one has worked 3 days in a row. One's worked 2 out of the last 3 days, so we might not see a lefty in that one. If you're looking at Toronto, obviously Teoscar, Whit Merrifield would be the guys you're looking at there. Arizona would be Varsho. Alec Thomas, I think, is one of the best value plays on the slate. McCarthy's hitting 6. He could be that like sneaky piece that people don't have in the Arizona stack. He's shown some raw power. Yankees, you got Judge, you got Matt Carpenter against Gilbert, if you want to go down that road. And Suzuki for Chicago, if you just don't want to look into the win too much, Suzuki, Wisdom type of stacks you could look at. So I think it just really comes down to who do you want in your stack. Value-wise, I like Piscotty and Pinder. Piscotty is, I think, 2,700, and Chad Pinder is 2,800. Pinder's heading towards the top half of that lineup. You could go like a Pinder-Murphy combo, and it kind of equal out to like an average salary. So, yeah, I really like Chad Pinder today.
Pinder double dong being called in the chat.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah. Naquin revenge game, by the way. Don't sleep on that. Producer Steve pointing that out for us. Naquin revenge game versus Cincinnati. This might be a first blood revenge. I think it's his first blood. First time he's seeing Cincinnati since he was traded, I think. You tell me, Will, your favorite outfielders. What did we miss here?
Like the Toronto guys, like the Mets guys. I like the Yankees, but I also like Seattle. You can get Frazier out there. You can get Winker out there. Like him a lot. Don't mind. On FanDuel, you can get Dalton Varsho out there as well. Against Tyler B. Don't mind him. That's the handful. I'm sitting here trying to figure out how I'm going to make my lineups work right now. But that's my handful, man. Toronto, Mets, Yankees, sprinkle of Diamondbacks, sprinkle of Mariners. That's my build today.
Reds gal was talking about Merrifield got pinch hit for yesterday. I missed that. That was a close game too. Is that something that should be happening going forward? Probably not. Although, like I was talking before, how bad he's been this year. They did trade for him, but they don't have a lot of alternatives off the bench. I know it was Espinal coming off the bench. His WRC plus this season, by the way, 81, down from 91 last year, down from 106 the previous season. He's been tumbling and going the wrong direction, but I presume he's not a likely candidate to get pinch hit for. I'm curious what Carty has in the bats, and Carty will be on in just a minute, as well as chief meteorologist Kevin Roth, Dave Potts. Hey, you know what? That's by God, that's Kevin Roth's music. What's up, Roth? I see you in the picture. You just popped up, but weather-wise, I think, you tell us, pretty much mostly in the clear, right?
Yeah, things look pretty good in general here. Kind of got my eye on the game in Baltimore, but I don't think there's going to be a delay, and it's fine for bats either way. So really, I think there's no issues. The only thing that I'm really interested in is strong winds blowing in Chicago, and then winds blowing out in both New York and Baltimore for some pretty good hitting weather there.
DerekCarty is also with us. I'm not sure if you heard me throw it out there as far as Merrifield. I'm not aware of him being like a big pinch hit threat, and I'm trying to see if I can find what his percentage is tonight. That's not anything alarming, is it?
No, the bet has 2%. I mean, he is on a new team now, so this is based on Kansas City a little bit, but I wouldn't think he's a big pinch hit risk.
Hey, Carty, you're the Padres, right? When we get to what's his name back, Tatis. Well, what's your first 4 guys in the lineup? What's the lineup for you? How does it look?
I mean, their lineup is so good.
You get to fill out the card, though. You make the first 4.
Yeah, I mean, first thing I'm doing is moving Profar down in the lineup. Like he's not hitting leadoff for me. Not with everyone they have. It's probably like I don't know, maybe like Cronenworth, Soto, Tatis, Machado, Bell, Durry, Will Myers, Alfaro over Nola every day that he'll play, and then whoever's left.
All right. I was lobbying for Soto to lead off, but I just get Profar out of there, and I'm good with that as well. Dave, you have any disputes there as far as you're all of a sudden the manager of the Padres? That's a fun lineup to fill out.
Again, you should have the show up. Dave crashed out. Man, like
when did that happen?
Didn't you you went to school for this? Like,
he didn't really go to school. He went to UCF, which is
he grew a mustache and he forgot how to host a show.
I'm just kidding.
Good thing Kevin Roth is here. Like, gosh, this guy.
I don't know if I can get the UCF today, to be fair. But when I got in, it wasn't that hard. Now it's it's. By the way, it's like the second or third highest population as far as.
Dean, you don't have to sell us on your alma mater, okay?
Hey man, Gabriel Davis. That's all I got to say. Dante Culpepper, represent. All right. Well, is Dave coming in? He's gonna be coming back in a second. I assume that Carty can handle it either way, but I imagine Dave's coming in any second. Otherwise, Roth, you got anything else for us?
No, just a tip of the cap to the best cap I've ever seen. There was Stevie rocking the McDonald's. Did we talk about this at the start of the show? Because that hat is epic.
It's a NASCAR hat. It shouldn't shock anybody, but yeah, it's a NASCAR hat.
Is it is there a team McDonald's in NASCAR? I had no idea.
Yeah, it was Bubba Wallace yesterday. So I'm sending good vibes. Made some money for us yesterday. I wore it on the NASCAR show, and it was still on my keyboard when I sat down to do this show, so I just put it on.
Okay, well, it's pretty awesome. Just giving you kudos on that.
Hey,
Roth, you're a McDonald's stand?
Oh, I don't. I've told this story before. I used to go to McDonald's so often that one time I pulled up. It was a couple days before Christmas, and the typical drive-thru lady gave me a Christmas gift. That was one of the low moments in my life when I realized, this is not good if I'm getting a Christmas gift from the McDonald's drive-thru.
What was the gift?
It was a random ornament. I think it was a regift. It had no personal value, but it was
she didn't give you a burger.
She was just here, throw this out. That's basically what was happening there.
Yeah, well, not a good sign for where my life was at that point, I think.
Understood. Stevie, Will, you got anything else for the boys? We're getting out of here.
Don't overthink this slate. That's all I can say. I know Carty, she's going to talk about it, but don't overthink this slate.
Will?
Nope.
Okay. We won't overthink it. We will underthink it.
Fanduel sponsor Crunch Time with Kevin Roth, Derek Carty, and presumably Dave Potts, 2-time millionaire winner. He'll be here in a second, I imagine. If technology allows, it starts now. Roth, take it away.
I have faith. We all know that Cheese is very technologically advanced. If anyone can figure out the bugaboos, it's Cheese. He's a wizard. He's a tech wizard, I tell you. Welcome to it, though. This is indeed Crunch Time, sponsored by FanDuel. Got to make sure you're getting in the FanDuel single entry series, still ongoing. $50K in bonus cash up for grabs. It's already single entry. You should already be doing it. $50K getting thrown on top of that. And the top finisher in each series gets an all expenses paid trip to the single entry series championship in Chi-Town. You get to drink some beers with Meansy September 9th for a shot at the $10,000 grand prize. Be sure to throw your lineup into the single entry series before it is filled. Hopefully, it is already filled at this point. I'm not certain. But happy to be joined by one of the sharpest minds in the industry.
Wait, one of?
Well, yeah, I think one of is fair here, but the only one who is the president and vice president of the Bat and the Bat X Enterprises, it is Mr. Derek Carty. What up, man?
I guess that's a step up from the last time I saw you. I think we were at Captain. We'd worked our way down, so
we're heading back up here.
Back up. All right, so I'm doing pretty good then. On the upswing.
Yeah, once we hit Faro, we had to start working our way back down. But now we're trending up. How you like the slate?
It's a short slate. I don't think there's anything overly complicated about it. It's fairly straightforward for the most part. The stuff that's going to be owned is the better stuff. So it's not. You love a slate where the good stuff is going to get missed by people, and I don't think this is really a slate like that.
Okay. Well, we will need you to both put on your cash hat, which you are accustomed to. That is the typical hat that you wear. And then also your GPP cap here, kind of filling the cheese roll. Does that work for you?
Yep, that works.
Okay, cool. Oh, man, I saw the glass there and I thought, oh, are we drinking? But no, you've got a water.
Just water.
Speaking of, right on cue, look who it is.
Hey, well, my ceiling fan is really on right there, isn't it?
It is going.
Fantastic.
Getting a little peek.
Geez, I think those lights are supposed to go on the other side to illuminate you.
Yeah, it seems like I have this really great setup right behind those lights, and that computer is not feeling it.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, hey, way to make things happen. Way to shift things around, and welcome.
Welcome to you.
No, I've been here.
Great. I think for a while on that computer, it looked like I was just here and nobody else was. That was not.
Yeah, that was not the case. You were sitting around thinking, "What's going on? Why am I the only one here?" Alan in the chat says your setup is fantastic.
It absolutely is, and I would turn that off. But I have also on this setup, I have shorter length to my earbuds, right. So if I stand up, they'll just come right out, and I don't want to deal with this.
But I'm happy to see you going old school. Yeah. I highly recommend the old school. Earbud. The other ones, they cut in and out. Sometimes they just don't turn on. I don't trust them, Cheese.
I like them because they're sneaky and you don't see them unless they have nothing on. They're actually, when I had to order a new pair, I found out they're actually like meant for like the police. They're called like police headsets. So, or I assume FBI people use them as well.
Yeah, that's likely. Yes. All right. Hey, let's talk about this slate a little bit here. We kind of got a little bit of an intro by Carty, who basically said there's nothing sneaky to be done. Cheese, do you agree with that Carty take there?
Yeah, it's very clear. Like the pitching side is very clear, and the hitting side it has a very clear. Hey, this is what you play, and then like everything else is a glob of sure you can play that in tournaments.
Sure, right. Okay, well let's talk about what is very clear and what is sure you can play that. And Carty, since you did join us at the top of the show as you're supposed to. How about you lead us off and talk some pitchers here, Cheese? You gotta go back burner here.
Yeah, so we have a clear top tier with pitching tonight. It's Blake Snell, it's Zach Gallen, and it's Chris Bassett. And again, there's not going to be anything sneaky about this. These project as the 3 highest owned guys on the site. They project as the 3 best guys on the slate. And so it's really just a matter of like which of these guys you're going to play. In cash games, Blake Snell is, I think, the non-negotiable. Like, he's the guy you're playing no matter what on both sites, I think. He's the top guy on the slate. He's really good. He's facing the Giants. Snell's the guy. Then you have Gallen, who's against Pittsburgh, and you get a bit of a discount on him on DraftKings relative to Bassett. It does look like Cheese has Bassett tagged, so I'll be curious to see kind of where he sees the difference between these guys, but the bat thinks they're exactly the same, and Gallen is cheaper, so you should just play Gallen in cash. I don't have a problem if you want to play Bassett. Like, he's great, but I don't think you need to spend the extra $2K on him or 1.5 or whatever it is. But Bassett's a good pitcher. He's facing the Reds, who are not especially good. They're getting a big park downgrade going into New York. And so, like, that's your top tier. It's those 3. Snell on Fanduel is even the cheapest of them and projects the best. So like, you really don't have to overthink it there. And then in GPPs, there's other stuff you can do. The bat seems to like Cole Irvin a good amount relative to ownership. He's projected, I think, the 5th highest owned guy, but he's the best after that top 3 in terms of performance projection. So I like Irvin. He's in Oakland. It's the best pitching weather of the night. LA is bad and strikeout heavy, and he gets a decent leash. So I really do like Irvin quite a bit. I think you can make a case for Jose Suarez on the other side of this game if you need to save some money. He also projects well relative to his ownership. So those would kind of be my GPP guys. You can throw Keegan Thompson in the mix, but he does project higher owned than both of the other 2, and no better really than either of them. So that I think that's pitching. You can maybe make a case for like Alex Wood or if you want to get weird or something like that, but I don't think you really have to get that weird.
Okay, I will disagree with you on one point, and that is you mentioned Oakland is the best pitching weather of the day, and it is probably going to be the coolest, upper 60s at start. But in Chicago, it's also going to be upper 60s, maybe 70. And you've got those wins in
You
Chicago.
do.
blowing
I
in
wasn't
15
thinking of the
miles per
Wrigley
hour.
wins. You're
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
So and for that reason, maybe that's why Keegan Thompson is a little bit higher owned. If he's decent, I have no idea.
Yeah, he's okay, and he does have those wins, which are nice.
Yeah. All right, Cheese. Let's get your take here on pitchers. I am curious if when there's a three horse race at the top, you can only play one on one site and two on the other. So what are you doing here?
Yeah, when I originally looked at it this morning, I really thought we were going to have crazy, massive Blake Snell chalk. So I was very much thinking, hey, we got to fade chalky Snell. But really, the three are close enough that I've sort of gone the other way on that, and I don't think you have to fade it. And then the reason I tagged Bassett ahead of Gallen is you just don't need the salary. But that was also pre-Pirates lineup. I like Gallen even a little better now. Marcano does not scare me as a leadoff hitter. Kevin Newman in the 2-hole. I mean, it's basically a one-hitter team and then kind of O'Neal Cruz later. So if you need the salary, I would play Gallen ahead of Bassett at this point.
Gotcha.
And just say on DK, Snell, Gallen, it's really easy to fit. And I would probably do that in cash. On FanDuel, I still do like Bassett the best because I think that higher salary just keeps him the lowest owned of the group. And I like them all so much like the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the least question mark with Bassett. It's still Chris Bassett. This is not like we have Garrett Cole on the slate, but if salary doesn't matter, which it kind of doesn't, I'll take Bassett first. But I agree with Carty. Like, it's just those three guys are way ahead of everybody else. And I think as long as you're playing one of those three and or two of those three on DK, I think you're good.
Okay.
Personally, I'm very much on the Keegan Thompson train on DraftKings. A lot of it has to do with the weather. Like the Nationals are a low power team to start with. So you give that win, like it's really hard to imagine the Nationals hitting a bunch of home runs. And Thompson is actually, I mean, he's up and down all over the place, but like when he's been good, he's been really good. So I'm on board with him.
He looks like he's 15. That photo
he is a child.
Okay, yeah, just making sure.
And then on FanDuel, you really don't need salary. But if you do, Jose Suarez at 6,600, I mean, it's 6,600. It's almost hard to spend that salary. Like you're locked into just going Alonso, Vlad, and Judge like everybody else who's playing Suarez. So you just don't need the salary. So I don't love it.
Gotcha. Okay. I did get a question here on pitchers in the Discord. Someone said, Jay Frey said, should weather edge scare us off of pitching in New York? We are seeing about a 20 to 30% bump in home runs and runs scored. But the idea of playing a pitcher, especially a good pitcher, is that they're missing bats, not that they're getting lit up to begin with. You know, you're counting on strikeouts. It's not the best hitting weather in the world. Outside of strong winds in Wrigley, I don't think good hitting weather should scare you off of pitchers. Is that a decent take, Cheese, Carty, either of you?
I mean, I kind of disagree. I think it's going to impact pitchers.
Sure.
And yeah, like it's going to impact home runs the most, but good hitting weather also reduces strikeouts. It increases walks. It increases base hits. It's across the board. And it's 90 degrees there, basically 88. I see double digit winds blowing out to center. So, I mean, it's not going to take me off Bassett. He projects fine. Like that goes into the projection.
Right.
But were it 70 degrees with no wind, he might project as the best pitcher on the slate.
Okay. All right. Good note. Cheese, anything you want to add there or similar thoughts?
Yeah, similar thoughts. And keep in mind, it's Citi Field. So it's normally a decrease to homers. So you increase the homers. Now it just becomes neutral. It's not like starting with a hitter's park and then you boost it.
Right. Okay. Good stuff. Let's talk about some of the stacks here, Cheese, and I'm going to let you lead off.
So the very obvious chalk is the Mets. That's where if you want to play what everyone else is playing, you should play the Mets. I love the Mets. I expect them to annihilate Justin Dunn and everyone else that comes in, and I love them. But still, even with that, other than Alonso and kind of Lindor, just because of how he stands out of his position, I don't know exactly who to play. Like it's a very evenly spread out team where it could be Nimmo could go 5 for 5, or Marte could hit 2 home runs, or Naquin could hit 2 home runs, or it could be James McCann and the top of the lineup goes, 2 for 4 with singles. So I'm spreading it way out with my Met stacks. I don't have like one group of, other than Lindor and one of the first basemen. I don't really care who I play on the Mets. But that's the good chalk. I think Arizona is next in line, at least for how much I like them. And I do think they'll probably end up next highest owned, but it's going to be pretty spread out. And then we pretty much just have a couple of individual bats here and there that will be popular. But as far as stacks, the Mets are the chalk, and it's certainly my favorite offense.
Okay. Carty, you want to go through your favorite stacks?
Yeah, the Mets are the best. We have the hitting weather. Dunn is bad. And this is about as good of a stolen base matchup as you will ever find. This is like Noah Syndergaard level amazing stolen base matchup. If you're like a sports bettor, go bet Starling Marte's stolen base prop right now, because this is it projects really, really well.
I assume the stolen base prop is just a half a stolen base. Is that?
Yeah, if he steals a base, I think MGM has it plus 575, which is really nice for how good this matchup is.
Okay.
But yeah, the Mets are going to be they're going to be chalk. They're going to be good. You're going to play a bunch of them in cash games. After that, the Blue Jays, the Diamondbacks, they're kind of like that little next tier, but they're going to be the next most popular teams. And then after that, there's a whole bunch of stuff. Cheese kind of said right at the top of the show that is like fine to just play in GPPs. Like you can play Baltimore. You can play the Cubs, even with the Wrigley win. You can play the Cubs. You can play the Mariners. You can play the Padres. I don't even hate a giant stack against Blake Snell on this slate. Like if you're not playing the Mets, like there's not even that much difference between Giants and like anyone else. And you're getting a ton of leverage doing that.
Gotcha. Okay. Good stuff. I did get, I don't want to bang the drum on this too much, but NY says, Carty, could you touch on the Cubs game? Roth is saying it's a Wrigley wind game, but the bat doesn't show it. So I just looked at some forecast models on it. What you see on the automated is just a forecast from the National Weather Service. They've got it at 16. I think that's too high based on what I just looked at. I think it's probably 10 to 15 blowing in, gusts of 20 plus.
Yeah, I mean, the bat has it as a Wrigley win game, whether it the projections look the way you want them to or not. It has 13-mile-an-hour winds blowing in from left field.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be closer to 13 than 16.
I was just wondering if somebody heard the term Wrigley win game and was thinking we were meaning the other way.
Oh, that could be. Yeah, it's blowing in, which is good for pitching, and it's on the cooler side tonight. It's one of the cooler games, so that's yeah.
That's a good point. Okay, good. Glad that we established that. All right, with that all done here, let's start going around the horn. We like to go through the old battery, as they say in baseball, which I think means pitcher and then catcher. So, Carty, let's talk about the catcher.
Yeah. So, let me pull up catcher. Top catcher on the slate tonight is Alejandro Kirk. They're in Baltimore, which has not been friendly for hitters this year, but it is 90 degrees there, almost a little bit of wind blowing out, almost double digits. Aside from the Mets game, this is the second best hitting weather on the slate, basically. And the Blue Jays are really good, and they're facing Jordan Lyles. So Kirk is your top guy. I think in cash on DraftKings, you don't have to overthink it. Like, play him. In your stacks, you can play Danny Jansen to make your Blue Jays stacks a little bit different. You only save about 400, and people are going to want to play Kirk over Jansen, but there's not. I mean, it's only about a point projected difference. So I like Jansen in tournaments. Wilson Contreras, again, even though it's the wind blowing in, he's just so good, and Anibal Sanchez is so bad that you can play Wilson Contreras. Otherwise, though, like, there's not a lot of great stuff. You have James McCann, who's fine, certainly in your Met stacks, even as a one-off at 3-2. I think he's fine. And you have Keibert Ruiz for 2-8. Again, it's the Wrigley game, but he's cheap enough. Catcher sucks. Like, you can play him.
Keibert is a funny name. Cheese, you wanna go through your catcher thoughts?
I wonder if he liked Keibert as a kid.
Yeah, probably not. Growing up, he was like, I need to become a famous baseball player now because you named me Keibert. Cheese, catcher.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how cheap Kirk is, and he'll be good chalk. To be different than Kirk, certainly Jansen in your Blue Jays stacks. The two guys I like are Rutschman and Murphy. That's kind of spend up to be different for some upside. And I do like spending up in general catcher. And then on FanDuel, Varsho is outfield catcher.
Great. And you would play him at catcher, I assume?
Actually, he'd probably be more in the outfield, honestly.
Right, because on Fanduel, you don't even have to play catcher.
Right.
Okay, take us to first base, Cheese.
So here it gets interesting in that you have two very obvious best plays, but they're also very obviously very expensive. Guerrero, Alonso. I'm going Alonso first. On FanDuel, consider playing both of them to get you a little different. Or, go if you want to be even more different than that, play Guerrero with Vogelbach. Just the things that other people aren't going to do that have obvious upside. I do like Christian Walker. And then it's just a bunch of just kind of weird stuff. Like the Mets and Vlad are so much better than everyone else. That's what you want to do as much as possible.
Okay, I know we don't really care about projections in baseball. Carty, don't kill me for saying that.
You all said it.
Who in their right mind would ever say that?
Kevin Roth, who has never missed a home run call in his life. When you know home runs like Kevin Roth, projections don't matter.
You're looking for a guy that's just going to hit a home run. I don't mean to say projections don't matter.
You can project home runs.
Okay.
Kevin can.
Let me finish my point. You're right. I'm sorry. I apologize. Vogelbach is projected higher here. More fantasy points than Vlad, more than Alonso, more than anyone else. It's Vogelbach at almost 15 fantasy points. Is that crazy?
That seems off to me. The bat doesn't agree with that. It has Vlad and Alonso.
That almost has to be an error in the machine somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that. There's no way that's right. Alonso and Vogelbach are flipped.
Okay. Well, I'm glad I pointed it out. Okay, let's. Where were we? Carty at first, I think.
Yeah, basically everything Cheese said. Vlad and Alonso are the top guys. They're basically interchangeable. If you can play both on FanDuel, that's great. Vogelbach's a great way to save money and be different. Christian Walker's great. I think what I would add is that I think Ryan Mountcastle, especially on DraftKings at 3-1 against Kikuchi, who has a wide platoon split and is, honestly not that good. I like Mountcastle quite a bit, and I like Joey Votto as a leverage play off of Bassett.
Gotcha. It's probably the stolen base upside with Vogelbach that gives him the.
He is fast. Now that we've seen the guy run with that, like going around
that's
Twitter,
got to be it.
Yeah. You see.
Once he gets going, you can't stop him.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to second, Carty.
Yeah. So second base, the top play is Ketel Marte. The Diamondbacks are kind of that tier right below the Mets. So Ketel Marte against Beatty is a good play. On FanDuel in particular, where he's 3.3K, he's a really good play. On DK, where you have to pay 5K for him, you probably don't have to get up there. Whit Merrifield for the Jays leading off is definitely going to be a good play. Ramon Urias for Baltimore for the same reason I mentioned with Mountcastle. Like Kikuchi has a wide split, really not good against righties. And then we have, if you want to really save money tonight, we have Jonah Bride hitting leadoff for Oakland at 2.4K against Jose Suarez. It's not a great environment. He's not a great hitter, but second base kind of sucks. And he's a way to save some money to be able to spend up on double aces, on Alonso, on like whatever else you want. So I definitely like that. And on FanDuel, I think the cheap guy is probably like either Jeff McNeil for the Mets, who will be popular, or Louis Garcia hitting second for Washington, who's less popular. Or even Michael Chavis, I think is fine too as a cheap guy.
Okay. Let's see. Cheese.
It's pretty different between the sites because Marte and McNeil are just really easy to get on FanDuel. So I don't think you need to goof around. Whereas goofing around with Jonah Bride, maybe Ramon Urias is fine on DK. I also kind of like Gleyber Torres in tournaments.
Okay. Take us to, I think, third. Sorry, I got distracted in the YouTube chat.
Yeah.
Are you telling people how good you are at basketball again, Roth? What's going on in the YouTube chat?
Someone did randomly say Adam Schefter just broke the Roth sucks at basketball. Like I don't even know what that's about, but I got a chuckle out of it. Also, in the YouTube chat, real quick, someone said, "Hey, any weather concerns?" Just in case you missed the top of the show, the long and the short of the answer to that is no. Low chance of a delay in New York and Baltimore. More likely in Baltimore than New York, but most likely in neither. So, Cheese, go for it.
All right. At third, it's kind of similar to second, where you can really afford what you want on FanDuel. Like Chapman is a little too affordable. Josh Rojas is a little too affordable. Eduardo Escobar is super cheap on FanDuel. We also have the greatest hitter in the league. Matt Carpenter is third base eligible on FanDuel, along with Manny Machado. On DK, I think I kind of like spending up to Machado. Even I don't like the Padres much overall, but I do kind of like the one-off with him, or even overspending for Brandon Drury just to be different. Donaldson's a little too cheap, and I do like the Yankees in general as a stack. And then another DK cheap punt is Tyler Nevin.
Okay. Carty, you want to take us to your thoughts on third?
Yeah, Machado's the top guy, but like not by a lot. Like Machado, Matt Chapman, Josh Rojas, they're kind of like the top tier, especially on FanDuel. Rojas is pretty cheap. And Cheese mentioned Donaldson is too cheap on both sites. I like him a lot. I mentioned Urias. I mentioned Bride at second base. They're both third base eligible on DraftKings and both firmly in play there. Yeah, that's kind of it. You can take shots in GPPs on Suarez or Wisdom. I mean, as we all know, you can't project home runs, but those guys do have power. So if I were to try to project home runs, I'd say they have, probably a decent chance. Maybe
just ask Roth if they're going to home or not, and he will tell you.
Yeah, they're not. But
there you go.
As I am the Eugenio Suarez whisperer, I will add he is going to home run tonight. Okay, Carty, take us to shortstop, and that was a wonderful cheap shot. Good job. It's nice.
Top shortstop is Lindor. For the Mets, we really like this spot. He has speed to take advantage of the stolen base matchup also. So he's a really good play on both sites. You also, though, have Bo Bichette, who's a little bit cheaper than him on both sites and is totally fine to play instead if you need to save a little bit of money. The Jays are in a really good spot. We've talked about it. Then on FanDuel, you have Louis Garcia hitting second for Washington. He's every bit as good as everybody else on the board tonight besides Lindor and Bichette. So he's really cheap. If you're going to save money, I think he's probably the guy you do it with. Over on DraftKings, he's fine. Jorge Mateo, I think for Baltimore is fine for all the same reasons I like Baltimore righties. And if you really need to save money, Brandon Crawford is 2K. Yeah, it's lefty against Snell, but he's 2K. He's a decent hitter. And, certainly if you're doing a giant stack, he can fill, shortstop for you, can save you some money. He's fine.
Okay. Cheese, you want to give me your thoughts at short?
Yeah. Well, the two guys are not as good as the first baseman. It's a similar gap, like Lindor and Bichette, and then just everybody else. Kind of like with Alonso and Vlad, and then everybody else. So I think you want to spend up to one of those two guys with as much Lindor as possible. I like Mateo best as the cheap guy. And then it's really just anything else is just in the stack.
Okay. Take us to the outfield, Cheese.
So sadly, I think Aaron Judge is going to be really popular, not because people like him, but because there's so many builds where you're just left with tons of salary and nothing to do with it. Yeah. And there just aren't that many expensive guys. I was hoping he would just be a spend up to be different, but I don't think he really is.
It's weird. The bat actually has him the highest projected ownership of any outfielder on DraftKings tonight, which you wouldn't really think based on this slate, but that kind of, I think you're right. I think you hit it.
Yeah. So when I started building lineups, he was just sitting there well, why would I not just spend the money? It's sitting there. So
sure. It's
kind of a bummer. I like certainly the Mets guys, Marte and Nimmo and Naquin. I love the Arizona guys. Varsho is my favorite. Alec Thomas is fine and cheap. Teoscar is really good. The punts are kind of all over the place. I like Chad Pinder. I guess I want to also mention on DraftKings, play a little Shohei Ohtani, just because he's the guy that will – what I was hoping Aaron Judge would be. That's what he is going to be. Just the guy who's really good at baseball that no one plays because people just play Judge instead.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, the cheap stuff is not really that necessary because unless you really want to get Judge and Marte and Teoscar, those Arizona guys kind of just make everything work.
Okay. Carty, your favorite outfielders?
Yeah, it's definitely the Mets guys, Nimmo and Marte. It's Blue Jays, particularly Teoscar, Whit Merrifield, where he qualifies also. And then it's just doing stuff to be different. Mitch Haniger, I think, is underpriced on both sides. He's facing Tyone, so he probably won't be like super high owned, but he's really, really good at baseball. He's coming back from injury. People have kind of forgotten about him. So I like Haniger quite a bit. I like Rafael Ortega leading off for Chicago tonight as a way to save money on both sites. Jake McCarthy on Fanduel is really cheap for Arizona. He's going to be a good way to save money. And then really it's stuff in your stacks. Baltimore guys, I think those Cubs guys are interesting, whatever.
Okay. All right. Let's take the question that we always get, which is one stack to win it all. Are you just going to go with the chalk, Carty? One stack to win it all? Let's say FanDuel single entry. What's your main stack?
I mean, I'd rather in multi-entry. I was going to say, give me the Giants against Snell. In single entry, I don't know if that's a little too cute, but I do think they're interesting tonight if you're fading the Mets. Okay. All right. That's fair. Cheese, same question.
Yeah, other than the Mets chalk, it would definitely be the Yankees for me.
Okay. Excellent stuff, guys. Let's take some QQs. We've got 7 minutes or so. Pulling up the old RotoGrinders Discord. If you're not on the RotoGrinders Discord, you should be. That's where the party's at. So go ahead, join in. And if you're watching on the YouTube, thanks to our sponsor, FanDuel, make sure you hit that like button. Let's get to it. Beaner says, you guys like the Yankees? And Cheese just answered that. Yes, he does indeed. Cheese on FanDuel, don't you feel like Alonso's ownership will be a bit higher than it's showing? There was another question, Cheese, if you'll give me 1 second, that was similar. JW in the YouTube chat said, Cheese, who's going to have higher ownership, Alonso or Vogelbach? Thank you.
So the ownership, I think, will be pretty close between Alonso and Vogelbach. And I do think Alonso will be higher than what we're showing him, which is 11. What do you have, Matt Carty?
The bat has him at about 13. I think part of it is that it sees several viable options. Like you have ownership that's going to get split between Alonso and Vlad. Then you have Vogelbach, who's too cheap in the same matchup as Alonso, that's going to draw some ownership. So, and you have other cheap guys in good spots. You have Walker, you have Mountcastle. It might be too low. I would have kind of expected more like in the 15 to 20 range for Alonso, but the bat's saying like 13.
Yeah, but I think the answer is you don't need to worry about the ownership for him. Like you need to worry about the ownership with Lindor, but not really with Alonso.
Okay, great. Carty, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much would you frown upon doing a Mets Diamondbacks 4-4 stack in FanDuel Cash?
I mean, I'm not going to frown upon it. Like they're both good teams. I want plenty of Mets. There's a couple Diamondbacks I probably want. I don't think you go out of your way to 4-4 stack it in cash, though. In a GPP, sure, especially if you're doing a contrarian pitcher. But in cash, you're sacrificing value if you're just jamming in 4 Diamondbacks, especially tonight.
Okay, good answer. Achilles, this is just a comment, not a question. Either of you can react if you care to. Don't forget about 2K Tukupita on DK at second.
I personally will forget about him.
Okay, that's fair. All right, DK Cash. This is a 3v3 coming your way. Marcano, Lindor, and Marte, or Merrifield, Bichette, and Hernandez.
Say that one more time.
Sure. DK Cash, Marcano, Lindor, Marte, Merrifield, Bichette, Hernandez.
I mean, I guess the first one, but I would play someone instead of Marcano and go down from Marte to Nimmo personally.
Okay. DK GPP from Fick. Carty, what are your thoughts on a bottom of the order Blue Jays guys as salary savers?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. The Jays project basically as the second or third best offense of the night behind the Mets. They're going to pick up some ownership, and that'll make your stack a little bit different. So I'm fine with that. Okay. Jay says, Cheese, is it a full stack or full fade slate when you're talking about the Mets? So no one or two.
No, because you can build it so many different ways.
And I should add, this is single entry. This is DK single entry. if that changes things.
No, still no.
Okay, great. NBA DFS says, why isn't Ohtani on the FanDuel slate?
They had him listed as a pitcher
Yeah.
when they made the slate last night, and they don't know how to change it to him as a hitter.
God, it's just embarrassing that like no one knows how
Just
to
put him
handle
in
that,
your
dude.
database twice. Once as a pitcher, once as a hitter. He accrues pitching stats with one, hitting stats with the other. You can roster him either way. On days he pitches, you can roster him in as a hitter.
Yeah,
and a pitcher.
how fun would that be?
How fun would that be?
Why are we
Like,
not doing this?
It would take like an hour of dev time. I'm completely making that up, but it probably won't take that long.
Okay, so to be fair, when I said no one knows how to deal with it, Carty actually does.
Yeah, he
know how to
could
deal with
probably do it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I could not. It would take me more than an hour. I assure you.
Yeah, it seems difficult. Shout out to our sponsor, FanDuel. Hey, Crazy Coop says no love for a Yankees team that just hits. No, we have love for them.
Yes,
So
lots of
we
love.
do have love for them. FanDuel GPP Cheese cheap shortstop last piece 26 hundo left.
2,600 FanDuel. I mean, I know Garcia. I don't really like Garcia outside of a stack personally, but under 26. Honestly, I would play. Where did he just go? Kiner Falefa or Brandon Crawford ahead of Garcia, but Garcia is probably the answer.
Okay. Also, it just reminded me, I have a stupid baseball question for After Lock for you two people who know and watch baseball. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Anything
Thanks.
you do is cool, Kevin.
No, you're not wrong. Let's see. DKGPP Carty, Irvin or Wood?
Irvin for me, but I think Wood is borderline viable, but I definitely prefer Irvin.
Okay. J Sams has a fairly elaborate question. I'm going to read the whole thing here. On FanDuel and single entry GPPs, which build do you think has more upside? 4 Mets, 3 Orioles, or 4 Mets, 2 Orioles, and Contreras? Basically, I'm deciding between Contreras, Mountcastle, and Rutschman.
Personally, I'm just scared off enough by that Wrigley win that I don't want a one-off power bat there. So I would rather play Rutschman or Mountcastle over Contreras, especially with other Orioles.
Great answer. All right. BHB, DK Cash, Carty, Teoscar, or Nimmo?
I'll take Nimmo first, but Teoscar's good too.
Okay. Timotebo says DK Cash, Cheese, Alonso, or Vladdy Daddy. This is like...
Yeah, them's the guys. I prefer
Yeah.
Alonso, but I mean, you're not going wrong either way.
Okay. Jay says, DK single entry. Is it crazy to just fade the Mets? I'm thinking of Seattle, Maine with Toronto Mini.
No, not crazy at all.
Yeah. All right. Carty, Cheese, Blue Jays stack, DK GPP, playing Chapman instead of Merrifield. Am I getting too cute, or is that okay?
I mean, I wouldn't even say too cute. I like Chapman better than Merrifield for sure, straight up. So that's not cute at all. It's ugly and fantastic.
Great. We like that. All right. Let's see. Carty, how many home runs does Chad Pinder hit tonight? 1 or 2?
Oh, I don't know. You can't project home runs. Roth, you tell me.
Damn it. Yeah.
Chad Pinder can. Chad
Good.
Pinder can project.
Good job. Carty, FanDuel GPP, Pete Alonso or Rizzo?
It depends entirely on the rest of your lineup. Like if you've watched the show, Alonso's like better than Rizzo as a play. Is the rest of your lineup chalky? Can you afford a chalkier bat? Like it's probably Alonso, but it depends.
Gotcha. All right. Cheese, Padres stack for the win. I've got 6,400 left. I've got Ohtani over Judge. By the way, Steve O in the chat just said no Ohtani tonight. I don't know if we got an update here or if he's saying
I mean, we've been waiting for the lineup, so maybe it just came in.
I mean, Cole Irvin becomes, if there's no Ohtani, Irvin becomes like, even he was already the best GPP play on the slate. He becomes like really, really good.
It's weird how good that guy is. Like, I said in the article today, after you get past those top 3, I mean, you can argue he's the best real life pitcher.
Okay.
left.
Well, the lineup just dropped and Ohtani is not in it.
See, FanDuel is from the future. They just knew.
There you go. Our sponsor never messes up. They're brilliant. Okay, here is so to be clear, both of you now like was it Irving, the pitcher?
I liked him to begin with, but yeah, definitely like him without Ohtani.
Okay. Cheese, any change for you or?
I don't know if I'll get there, but he's definitely the next guy in line. Like, if you want to play more than those top 3, he's the next guy to spend on.
Yeah. Okay, good to know. Okay, here's my question, and I know it's probably stupid It's probably stupid. I don't watch baseball. I didn't play baseball. I'm watching all these highlights of baseball things, and the second baseman makes like a crazy diving stab, and he comes up and he throws to first, and it's always a bounce into first. Like, not always, but is that intentional? That can't be.
I don't think it's intentional.
Yeah, depending on the play you're talking about, I think a lot of times when you see like a crazy like diving grab, I think they're a little disoriented and like they know they're not going to be able to hit their spot and just throw it right to them.
Okay. So it's just like we'll rather throw it low than throw it high kind of thing?
Yeah, almost like not try to aim it, like, and different plays. Like sometimes it might just be an accident, like he just doesn't have his bearings because he just spun around.
Sure.
But like if he knows he doesn't have his bearings and can't just throw it to the guy, like
okay.
You
Err on the side of caution, probably, rather than sail it into the stands. You know.
Okay, that makes sense. I see this all the time. I'm like, that dude was 15 feet from the other dude, and he bounced it to him. Like, even I don't suck that bad, but that can't be it because I do suck that bad, and they're a lot better than me. But that makes some sort of sense. Is that all right? They're just kind of gunning it there, and they're like, I'd rather
turn around, dive, and throw a baseball, and it has to be done within like 2 seconds,
right?
And then see how accurate you are with it.
Right. The transfer is immediate. There's no, they're just transferring and throwing. All right. I guess things I hadn't considered, but all right, that's good to know. I wasn't sure if that was an intentional thing, and it kind of sort of is. Hey, with that,
I haven't seen the lineup yet. I wonder if I have to just get rid of my one dumb Angel stack that was going to lose anyway. Probably so.
Probably. They only have one good hitter, and now he's not playing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Taylor Ward stack.
We're going to have like David Fletcher hitting cleanup for them tonight or something real weird. I haven't seen the lineup, but it's not going to be good.
Yeah. Hey, guys, I would love to hang out with you all night long, but I have 2 sick and screaming kids, and this was a fun show. So kudos to both of you for doing an excellent job as always. But we got to get out of here. So for Carty, for Cheese, and for our wonderful production team, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.